Yeah. So, welcome to the show. It's the reality of it with Steven, Mr. Jenkins. And what I call you, Deadwood Dick.
I don't like that. I
Did you
told you
Google
that.
it?
No, I still didn't. I was gonna say still didn't dig it. Still didn't
Still
Google
didn't dig it?
no, I didn't dig it. But I don't dig it or dig it.
It's from that book I was reading. Deadwood Dick was a prominent black figurehead. He was like
I still
Django.
don't want to.
He's like the real Django.
See, because when you say dead wood, it sounds like my dick is broken.
Yeah, but Deadwood was a town. That's why.
No, I get it, but
HBO show.
Deadwood dick just it doesn't sound like I got a good working thing, peen going on right there.
Anyway, we got Brad here on the show coming in. We're trying our first Skype show, so this will be interesting to match
What's up, peoples?
All 50 of y'all.
So, Brad, just give you a little context of Mike and I. Our friendship sort of started on racism because I didn't want to hire him because he was black.
Was racist.
No, actually, so I thought his name was spelled out, and I thought it was Jamaican. And the only reason I didn't,
I would like to say my name.
Yeah.
My name. Okay, so I have a hyphenated last name, right? But on paper, now did you see the paper with the hyphenated name, or did you just see my name? Either way, he wasn't looking hard or paying attention because he was an asshole the entire time talking to me.
Yes.
It was like he called me, I missed, I called him back. I'm like, hey, I'm putting him like, hey, how you doing? This is Michael, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, all right, yeah, okay, cool. And I was like, hey, by the way, I looked at the website and I can't see the address. What's the address? He was like, you can Google it. All right, I'll talk to you later. And I was like, what the fuck?
Well, I was like, okay, this guy wants to apply here. He applied here.
No, I
but
applied.
He doesn't.
I applied
he
to the company website.
I was like, all right, man. If this guy can't Google an address, like he ain't working.
No, because when you apply, like I applied to the company website, they gave my information to him, so it wasn't like I applied to him. I just applied to the company website.
Yeah, he's got me.
Yeah, right. So it was like they gave me. I'm like, hey, because I don't know where he's at. I'm like, hey, where are you located? And he's
Point being was like
he was an asshole. Also he was a bigger asshole when I came and saw him in person.
So I thought, how like when you were like managing like the like sales guy, like the typical sales guy, like
shirt and tie,
no,
and slacks and
black,
a jacket,
the black swishy raincoat. You know what I mean?
It was like
the ones we all had to fasten on that said fasten on it. He came in with one of those in a book, like a binder, and I'm like.
Yeah, I had my binder.
I'm like, what do you want?
I had my stuff in it, right? I look.
He's like, I'm here for an interview.
I had a shirt, tie, and slacks, and dress shoes on.
He looked like a sales guy.
And I had a binder. I apologize. Now, after working there, I understand what you're saying. But I came there, and I was like, hey, can I talk to Steve? And he was like, yeah, what's going on? And I was like, I'm Michael. I'm Michael Jenkins. And he was like, uh-huh. I was like, we talked on Friday? He was like, yeah, okay. I'm like, interview?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it was like interview. He's like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Come on. Give me a second. Come on in the back. It's just like, so why the fuck are you here? What do you want? I'm like, you called me. Like, I'm here because of you.
Needless to say, we sat down and had like a 2-hour-long conversation.
It was a good conversation.
It was good, and I was like, you know what? I like him. Yeah. I like him. And then I hired him.
But he was a complete asshole to me. And the call too,
which had nothing to do with him being black.
I don't know, but I always say it does. But he also thought I was Jamaican. Now my name is, if you want to bleep this out, is Michael Jenkins Gunn. Right? That's what you see in the paper, and it's a hyphenated last name. So
does that mean you want me to bleep that out?
You can if you want to. But again, like I said, my last name is hyphenated, so you can go Gunn. You could think Jenkins is my middle name, but he was like, yeah, it's a Jamaican guy, and I got a problem with Jamaican guys. I was like, what? Like, what? Why would you have a problem with Jamaican guys? That's like the last.
No. I didn't. The area. So like.
Oh yeah, he was like, I don't know how well Jamaican guys do. I was like,
well, you know how it is, like in Fastenal, like you know. Just because you're in Baltimore doesn't mean you're not in Baltimore. Like you go to like Hills Head Vibes that people live there. Yeah, I'm like, like you got to deal with a lot of those people, especially because I had someone call Pierce in the N word, and I was like,
you said what?
I told you this story.
You said times. You had somebody call Pearson.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. Pearson was black guy that worked for me, Brad. I'm like, you can't. Yeah. That's not okay.
Pierce.
A guy who came.
I
know.
Now.
And the guy he came in was actually cool with me. Now, what he said behind my back, I don't know.
He never said anything to you, probably because I
because you got him on
was not
Pearson.
nice to him the other time. But so yeah, and then we started talking about this at work, and it evolved into this. But like part of the reason we do this is just to have an honest conversation about racism. So
come on, bring your hand together.
part of the
Lock
he wants to
fingers.
touch me.
Lock fingers.
He
I was
wants
going
to
to
touch
say
me?
do this so they know we're talking about that. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Gayness.
Yeah,
I'm trying.
I'm gonna hold it a little bit longer.
So far.
Yeah, I was like, why you
But the point I'm trying to say is though is
Look like I'm gripping the tit over here.
right.
Get a part of this three-way, baby.
It's an honest conversation, and I think that's like the biggest thing that we go for is like, okay, it has to be genuine. So it's
Yeah.
he sent me another podcast. So it was like this. It was lame. It was like these two guys.
It was literally named Black Guy, White Guy Podcast.
Well, now that everybody knows
Original.
what I'm talking about, now that I'm about to crap talk it, they'll be like, "Did you hear what they said?"
Oh, and then there was
And
another
they're from
one.
Pennsylvania too,
Oh, really? There was another one called
Philly.
Black Dude, White Dude Podcast. I was like, wow.
That one didn't
that
have much
was
to do with racism. They just,
pretty. Did you listen to that one?
yeah. I tried like a couple, and I got like 10 minutes. And I'm like, oh, okay, this isn't about like what we talk about.
No.
So I let it roll. Anyway, it was the black guy was saying everything he basically hated about white people, and the white guy was like, yeah, the whole time just like agreeing with everything he had to say. And part of the reason we want to get more people involved is like, okay, obviously I don't represent all white people. He doesn't represent all black people, but it's funny because since him and I started doing this, both of our opinions have changed where it's like, hey, what do you think
This
about
is
this?
true.
And I'm always like, yeah, but you got to think if you were this and that happened to you. And they're like, and he does the same thing. He's like, well, I mean, he did try to grab the cop's gun. He's like, I don't want to hear it. Like, you know what I mean? It's always like, if it's not pro your color, you don't want to hear it. And it's like, no, that's why we have racism. You know what I mean? Because it's just ignorance on both sides. So that's why I feel it's important to talk about it honestly and not just
Absolutely.
what people want to hear. Which
Well, and that's
Also,
I mean,
we've been
that's,
trying to get another white person on here for a long time. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say. I
Yeah.
mean, that's kind of where my whole mentality, and I've had a lot of conversations, around this subject and just in general, and a lot of it, I always pin on media, right? That's always been my biggest frustration in the world, like just with everything, is media, because they could take a story where a black guy's completely innocent, right, and they make him out to be a criminal, right? And then they on the flip side, they could take somebody who is a criminal and they could make him out to be completely innocent. And it's whatever narrative they want to push, because what is going to create dollars, right? What's going to make everybody the most amount of money, because it is a very capitalistic society.
Clickbait.
So
very clickbait.
yep, very much so. And the best I saw one time I saw a picture, and it had I wish I could find it again, but it essentially had a person on a film set, right? It was just like stick figures, but it had a person on a film set, and you could see them back kind of rolling the camera.
Yeah.
And it showed a person chasing another person with a knife, and that was what they were capturing for the video.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And the way that they shaped the person's shoes, right, their feet, was the same way that the knife was shaped also in the person's hand. Well, what they were showing was the person behind was chasing the guy in front with a knife. And what was on their little video screen when it showed it is it looked like the person in front was trying to stab the person behind him.
Right.
And it's like, wow. Like when you see the whole picture, you're like, this is what they're actually filming, but what they captured, which is essentially a perfect way to describe how our media acts today, is that they are only capturing what they truly want us to see. And that's where it causes, I feel like, a lot of controversy as a whole.
I tell Steve all the time, because every now and then I think we both do. We like kind of listen to people who agree with what we agree with or something like that. And
Echo
everybody
chambers.
does it.
Echo chambers.
Yeah. We get in our echo chamber and we
It feels
talk and we
good.
talk, and then we rile ourselves up. And then it's funny because I've told Steve probably a bunch of times, I was like, you gotta actually, like, we gotta live in reality. Like, how many times are you going outside and all this negative stuff that you're hearing about these people or that person is actually happening to you? Like when you go to the
Right.
grocery store, somebody, robbing you, raping you, taking your stuff, or the cops knocking you over the head, or throughout the year, are you pretty much okay? And then like maybe once or twice a year, something might happen. You know what I mean? Like that's reality. Because I told him that's the reality of it. That's like, but that's what I told him because I was like, growing up certain ways, you're told worry about this, fear this, don't like this, and it's like, but that's not actually that hasn't happened to me. Like, so I have this feeling, or I have this notion, or unconsciously I have this bias, and I'm like, but actually nothing's ever bad happened to me for me to feel this way. So I'm kind of a dick.
Like hyping it up.
Yeah,
in your
and
own
that's
head.
that's kind of I was like
That happens on both sides.
yeah,
though.
no, that's what I'm saying. That's where I got to in my life where it's like I was told certain things, and I'm like, yeah, but it didn't happen to I get your the reason why you might not like this person or you might not like this thing, but they're kind of cool with me, or like that's never happened. I know it can happen. Trust me, I'm gonna watch out for it, but I can't walk around like it's gonna happen all the time.
So I used the whole reason of the name of the show is the saying I always had is the reality of it is people's perception is their reality. So it doesn't matter what reality is if you've been told all these things. Like I go back to pit bulls. Like everybody's afraid of pit bulls, and pit bulls are illegal in certain states, and it's like, oh, it has nothing to do with how the pit bull was raised or what, like it was beat every day and put in a cage and it whipped, and all of a sudden it comes up and bites you. That's like, we gonna kill that dog. It's like, oh, and then from that point on, every dog you see that's a pit bull, you're like, and it's all it takes is that one time, like you see one, whether it's
and it didn't even happen to you,
right? Whether it's a black guy's beating the crap out of somebody, and not even necessarily, or just like a clan thing over here, and you're like, they're all like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's your mentality. So you see that one person that's out of the norm, and you're like,
that's like the story I told you.
Perception is reality. You have no idea what reality is, but what you perceive from things from the outliers, like to your point to the media, is why I was saying this, is like the media shows you all the negative. Because the positive doesn't make news. I mean, like we talked about this with cops. Like, they're not showing you the cop that went and did this or did that, or the food drive or helping this. So we just think it doesn't happen until you go on social media and they're like, hey, look, we did this thing down here. Ice cream
or
truck.
like it shows like there's one video of a cop saving his baby. Like this lady's frantic in traffic, and because her baby like choked, just stopped breathing. I want to say no, it wasn't a black cop, but it was a white cop, and he just like went to work and like hit on the baby back, giving him air, and then the baby came back, and then they took him, and it was like this cop saved his baby, blah blah blah. And it's funny because I went into the comments. And like you look, and it was like, oh man, that's so great. Oh man, this made me tear up, da da da. Because it made me tear, because I have kids, and I was like,
right.
I always think in my head, when I see good videos, I was like, because it gets me emotional. I was like, I pray somebody would do that for my family, for my kids, or for me, or some shit like that happen.
Absolutely.
But even in those comments, somebody was like, it's probably the reason why he was choking, probably pepper sprayed her. It's like a couple cops where it was like the cop probably calls it. I was like, you can see the cop pulls up because the lady's in traffic. She like just fucking, jumps out of cars like begging for help. And the cop comes in and helps her. And it was like, people were still like, nah, fuck him. I was like, God damn, man. Like, like the man, it was like he probably shot somebody in the past. I was like, I mean, I don't know, but shit. You only go off the video.
People are only going to see what they want to see, right? And that's.
But
hold on a sec.
They saw it and they still didn't give a fuck. What's wrong?
I lost Brad on the video. I wasn't going to interrupt, but
oh shit.
I'll just have to do a redial on you, okay? Anyway, where were we?
You're racist. And we're trying to get him to stop being racist. I'm going to say stuff like that. I'm glad you laughed.
Yeah.
Of course, man. I mean, when we dive into the subject, right? I mean, I think the issue, in my personal opinion, is that it doesn't matter if you're conservative, liberal, black, white, Mexican, anything. You're going to have extremists on every side of it, right? And you're going to have people that overreact to situations.
Agreed.
And that's where I think the biggest issue is because the majority is in the middle. Right. And we all see very clearly, hey, this isn't as big of an issue as everybody's making it out to be. But there's extremists that, again, are pushing those agendas and continuing to try and drive, because they're the ones that have all the money to do so, try and drive a point or drive an influence. Absolutely. Thank you.
That's to the point of your friends
Which one?
didn't even see my Same crime, different
Oh,
time.
so we,
because I had a MAGA hat on, and that's all. They couldn't focus on my shirt was like a pro black shirt,
It's
and I had
it's
a
shirt
MAGA
that
hat
I've
on,
seen a
and
lot
it was
of black people
intentionally.
wear. Yeah. So we talked about something good. I think that was that MAGA discussion we had.
Well, that was when we did the "Make America Great Again" argument. You
That's
know
what I'm
I mean?
saying. Yeah. And I had a lot of people. We had a lot of people kind of comment on it, and it was funny because they were like, this guy's wrong. Good job, Mike. Put him in his place. I was like, but we pretty much agreed. Like, what are you talking about? And then one guy was like, is this guy really a Trump supporter? And I was like, why? What do you mean? He was like, well, he had the hat on, but he sounded. He said he sounded like he had sense. I was like, yeah. I was like, that's the reason why I fuck with him. And they were like, but is he really a Trump supporter? I was like, I mean, he voted for Trump. I don't know if he supports him and everything he does, but I was like, but at the same time, I was like, did you really want
Definitely
to
not
vote for
everything.
Hillary? And he was like,
Yeah.
that's part I didn't tell you. I was like, did you really
What's
want
their
to vote
two
for?
evils?
Yeah, I was like, which one? I was like, because I told Steve, I was like, most of the time you're picking between the shit pile and the shit sandwich. And I said the only difference is the shit sandwich has a little bit of bread in it. You know what I mean? So it's like, or cheese. You can throw some cheese and mayonnaise on that motherfucker.
You can polish the turd. At the end of the day, it's still a piece of shit.
There you go.
Right.
But it was just funny that
100%.
the reactions that we got, because people never looked at his shirt. They just saw, because he has all these fucking hats. So I had a Black Lives Matter hat on, and he had the MAGA hat on. And that's really, I think, where people like would tune in, like, let's see what these motherfuckers are. They're probably going to argue with each other. It was like, I'm like, no. We kind of ended
Well, we
up
just
agreeing.
showed the idea of how the conversation should go.
Yeah.
You talk, I talk. You listen, I listen.
Yeah.
Like, it's a give take. It's not this just like,
Yeah,
red hat.
yeah.
Oh, Black Lives Matter hat. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, yes, the media shows us the outliers, and there's two topics I actually wanted to talk about today.
Go ahead.
Because I think it was kind of something that, having another white person involved. Well, I mean, it's good to get a second opinion on these two things. So, like,
Need another Caucasian pin. Gotcha.
yeah.
Call me Clayton Bigsby.
Hi, Clayton.
I don't know if you got that.
No, I didn't.
Oh, yes, sir.
Just the being called a racist and then hearing the term. Yeah, we just talked about this last time, and there was a lot of things that we left out that we wanted to. And honestly, I forget half of them. And then the other thing was just being called white, like white privilege or hearing white privilege, and
Let's start with the racist one first.
Doing both of those, I feel like that's almost one conversation.
No, they're both the same
You know what I mean?
conversation. I just want to start the
But
racist.
that's why I say, go ahead, hit it off.
No, because I told Steve. It's funny because
Swole Chihuahua. We got a name for him.
Oh man! So I ran into this guy right on Facebook. I hadn't really back in the day. I would say back. Oh yeah, I've been on Facebook for like 10 years. You know how? You don't know, but it tells you.
Yeah, your anniversary date.
Yeah. So I used to like argue with people all the time when I first got on Facebook because I'm like, I thought we were friends. Why are you saying this stuff? Like, blah, blah, and I would like go at a lot of people, and it would just be forever and ever. So I stopped doing it for a long time. But then this guy who I thought, like, we're Facebook friends, obviously. I haven't seen the guy in like a decade, but we put up stuff and we both commented on it. And so he was talking about the Breonna Taylor case, right? And I asked a simple question. I was asking a real question, but the problem is I'm so used to talking to Steve that Steve will actually hear my question and then answer it
And have a conversation.
Exactly, have a conversation without jumping to the fact that you're a sheep. Like I was, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, I'm sheeple, I'm all this, and I was like, no, I'm asking the question. Like you said, I was like, you said this was criminal, but these people don't have criminal records, and and I was like, don't you actually have to have a criminal record to really be a criminal, or at least to be a for sure criminal, blah blah, right? And so I said to him, like, you didn't read it. I was like, no, well, tell me. I'm like, okay, well, show me. I was like, well, you didn't read what was posted. I was like, well, you put these facts from a conservative website, and I looked at those facts, and some of those facts aren't actually true. Whatever, you're just sheeple and blah, blah. And then he had this friend who kind of was, like, going at me, like, calling me, like an ass hat and, like, dumbass. And all this stuff. Mind you, I don't know who this guy is. But he's doing it like, this dumbass he won't even research and blah, blah. I'm like, who the
basically
fuck is
saying
this
you
guy?
didn't know.
Yeah, but so I hit the guy. I even put his name in. I was like, hey man, blah, something like that. I was like, blah blah blah. It seems like you have an issue with this, that, and the third, because he started getting a little bit pseudo racist for my liking. Like saying certain things. Because then it went from Kool-Aid to grape Kool-Aid.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
then it's stuff
Pulling the low
like
blows.
that. Yeah, and it was like I was like, it seems like you might have a problem with people who look like me. So the guy who I was talking to was like, "Are you calling me a racist?" I was like, "No." I was like, "I would have said that." He was like, "You know what?" Well, it's common. He's like, because you're insinuating that I'm a racist and blah blah blah. I'm going to unfriend you and this, that, and the third and blah blah. And I was like, what the fuck? What kind of weirdo shit is that? Like, if I call you a racist, I'm gonna say, hey, you're a racist. But
Right.
it was weird because I've seen him have like I've ghost stalked people and watch those. I was like, oh, sometimes I like to look at it, but I don't want to like it. I want to be part of the thread. But I've seen people call him racist in the past and all this, and I was like, mind you, he's a Hispanic guy. Both of these are Hispanic guys. All right, so it's not even a white person. But he's been called. I guess he's been called racist. But he jumped to the conclusion and then unfriended me before I could say anything. The funny thing about it, the guy who was being an asshole, me and him went down in the mud with it. Oh, I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
It felt good. I told Steve, I said it felt like I used to. I said because I got all my little aggression out. We started throwing each other's races into it, and it got good. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Well, yo, mama.
Yeah, basically it almost.
At least my daddy around.
No, it's like that type of
Those
shit.
type of stupid
Like
stuff.
he was talking about, he was like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, Black babies matter, blah blah. Don't watch out, the cops will kill you. I said, hey man, watch out, ICE is everywhere in Texas, man. Make sure you got your papers on you. That's how we ended the conversation. So it was like
Swole chihuahua.
Yeah, he looks like a swole chihuahua. Because he's 5'3", come to find out, but he's like in the gym every day. Has literally a couple hundred videos, and I found out he's like for real like. That far side you're talking about, he's talking
Far
about
right.
globalists,
Yeah.
George Soros. He's something called
Short man syndrome.
Tsar Nazar. No, he not just that. If he was taller, he still would be like, this motherfucker's crazy. Like he goes into stores with his mask by his chin just so people. He's like, they better not fucking say to me. He's like, you know what? They don't say things to people who look like pussies and blah blah. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with it? I was like, you know what? I'm gonna keep him around. I need to know what that side is thinking. That's why I keep a couple people around. I was like, I need to know what this side is thinking. I don't have to comment, but I need to know what the fuck they're thinking because he's one of those guys like, yeah, man, the Civil War is coming and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, bro, you're 5'3". And the same gun you got, you live in Texas. Like, what the fuck do you think is going to happen? Like, they'd never stop making guns when they made your gun or your guns if you want to go that far. I said, and you can only shoot 2 at a time. But
yeah,
I'm getting a little off topic. I was saying that because, like I said, he thought I was calling him racist, and I was like, wow, like he really got emotional. I was like, because I told Steve when I was younger, I hate to say it, but I used to fuck with white people, like my white friends, and I'd be like, hey man, you're a racist. Because I learned that's the only thing that made white people freak out. Because I could call them asshole, cracker, blah, blah, all this shit. And they would never get mad. And all they had to do was like, nigga. And I'd be like, God damn you, son of a bitch, you motherfucker. And then I'd be like, oh, you're racist. And he was like, oh, I'm not racist. I have black friends. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, I got you.
So we've had a conversation before, like about how
I thought it was fun. I stopped doing it a while ago, but it was definitely every now and then it's fun to see.
Less is me.
And it was,
Which means
he knows.
I get to.
I was like, no. but
Flip that quick.
But I was gonna say no, just because I was like, when I say to him, he calls me a racist too, so it's funny. You know what I mean? We both know we're bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, man, you're up. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, I think we, we're also, I think, really ultra sensitive today too, more than we ever have been before. I mean, look at what I'll just say the Black or African American population went through compared to today in the past. Yeah. I mean,
Steve has done a lot of research on that, by the way.
And I guess maybe I actually have a question. Am I good to ask questions, or is it?
No. Sorry, you to just
open
of
forum.
course.
Listen, we don't know if you're racist.
Please ask a question.
My question, Mike, to you is: given everything that we've accomplished through the civil rights movement, right, and everything that was accomplished during the civil rights movement, why do you feel that today the perception is that things are worse than they were then?
Well, I don't personally, but I know what you're talking about. So me and Steve have gone on this. Like
LeBron James.
So I know he's itching to say something. So here's the thing. It also goes back to the sensitive thing. Actually, nothing's really actually changed. The only thing that's really changed is cameras everywhere. I wanted to talk about this with you, meaning now and social media, meaning if I was offended, is that shoes?
What do you mean nothing's changed?
No, I'm saying people are pretty much the same. There's
I was gonna say.
No.
Hey.
I mean, people are pretty much the same.
We've had this conversation. You're like,
no.
nah, nothing's changed. I'm like,
yeah. But there
get
are
out
some
my house.
crazies. There are some, there are some crazies. But they've always been there. Like, there's always been pussy people and crazy people. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's kind of like when I think Will Smith said it, and as fucked up as it might sound, it's like, he's like, there's nothing has changed. He's like, it's just cameras everywhere. He's like, so when you see, you know, a cop beating ass, like, that's not new. It's just now I have a fucking handheld, you know, supercomputer in my hand that I can live stream whatever's going on, whether you're doing good or bad. Because I tell people, I was like, when cops are like, oh, everybody's pulling out their phones, I was like, look, as long as they're not fucking with you and they're giving you space, please, you should appreciate that, because then what happens is, now if me and Steve, if I'm a cop and I come fucking with Steve, and then he does something, and I'm like, yeah, this right-wing fucking extreme, I had to arrest this guy, and then you see the video of me fucking with him, now you can make your own opinion, like, well, I mean, you were kind of fucking with the guy, like, he got mad. Right. It didn't even have shit to do with your race.
Was it not Jesse Jackson? Was it just Jackson? No. I apologize. No, the guy who got beat up and calls the riots led to that in the 90s. Was 90. I just literally watched something on
damn it, you made me forget Rodney King.
Thank you.
Rodney King.
That was like the first time it was caught on video,
that was
and it was brutal because the guy's like, "Oh yeah, we got these things called camcorders now." You know what I mean? And they're like, "Oh, you got us," and then like nothing happened, and they're like, you know what I mean?
Well, now I tell people the problem was, people were trying to talk about it, and other people, okay, black people were trying to talk about it, some white people were like, nah, I don't believe you.
Right.
I don't believe what you're saying. Like, no, that Officer Joseph would never fucking do that. Like, well, Officer Joseph's a fucking psychopath who hates black people. Because especially, like, in that situation, I don't know if you went back into, like, the 70s, or was it the 60s, 70s, and kind of like the 80s. The guy who was actually in charge of, like, the LAPD was, like, a known racist, and he was hiring people who were like basically like that, and against. So it's like, it wasn't like all this farce and like this, you know, exaggeration people think is done. I told Steve, I was like, everything that's kind of been exaggerated now, like, yeah, nobody's really being hanged, nobody's really being fucking drugged behind, or correction, it has happened, but it's not a consistent thing. It's not something you really have to worry about. It's like nobody, you know, groups of people really aren't gathering in the street and fucking people up like that. But I tell them, for every exaggeration, the shit is really happening. Like, I told Steve, I was like they used to use black babies in fucking the swamps, you know, horrible people, but they were using them as fucking like food for alligators or something like that. Like, and it's like, I've had people that, like, I told Steve, I was like, I've argued with history teachers about shit. I'm like, no, this happened. They're like, no, it didn't. I'm like, aren't you like 50? How the fuck don't you know this? And then I found out that I'm reading books that are going deeper into the history. So it's like,
well, the thing is like we hear all the time, and to the point of back to like media, right? Like if you would flick on CNN or
totally lost my point.
It's all like, I'm just trying to get it back on the rails, but it's like, it's all the point of like, you know, oh black people, oh they're oppressed, they're held down, like everybody's just trying to keep them where they are, like no help, and like, you know, so I always talk to you, I'm like, you know, like, bro, it's our same age, and when we started, like, it was, I want to say it was all good by then, because, you know, obviously the 90s, but it's like, law wise, you know, you still had discrimination, but you're not getting rid of discrimination, you know what I mean?
No.
And
it's not legal anymore to discriminate against people like it was.
But this kind of brings both of these. I don't say both of these, but it brings the racist.
I still gotta answer this question. I just realized.
Well, that's why I was trying to segue that. But like, I'll let you answer your question and I'll segue this. But go ahead.
No, it's so.
I guess why I was saying that about the media is like, as white people, we hear all this stuff about how it's terrible, it's horrible, and we're like, but what? And it's like, it's just terrible. It's horrible. I'm like, okay, but what? And it's like, well, you see this cop video? I'm like, bro, that guy tried to kill that cop. Like, I'm not seeing you. So it's like, everybody acts like it falls on deaf ears. White people are like, no, we're listening. you just keep showing me this video that I'm like, that's a terrible example. Like, if you're gonna use anything, that can't be your platform. You follow me? It's like the burger or the Wendy's guy. You're like, and everybody's like, nope, don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? It's
the case with the guy
at Wendy's that got shot in the back. We talked about it.
He had the taser.
Shot the taser.
And I told him, I told Steve, I was like, man, listen, because on my threads or my people that I know, they're like, justice for I know his last name was Brooks. His last name was Brooks. It was like justice for him. And then I went and looked at the video, and then Steve told me about the secondary video. And I went and looked at the secondary video, even though they were both like fucking 4K quality. Like, you could see every goddamn thing that happened. And I was like, listen, man. I was like, I can't agree with you guys. I was like, because they were like, oh, that officer knew he had a taser in his hand. I was like, but at the same time, he had just got done fighting and wrestling with this guy. It was like, and I was like, no offense. I was like, the guy, he made, and it's like, this is the part where I tell people when they try to call me like sheeple and all this shit. I'm like, no, I fucking see the difference. I have common sense. Like, he turned around, and let's say, because I told Steve, I was like, well, my thing is, if the guy would have turned around and he thought he had something in a taser to use against the cop, he was going to use it. I was like, now imagine if we got that cop's gun, and the cop had his taser out, and he turned around, and it's like, he was drunk, so he's making all bad decisions.
Right.
So he turned around, and he would have used that gun on that cop. It's like, now you got a cop who's shot, potentially dead, and I'm like, I can't be with you on this. Like, I can't say defend the guy, because it's like, look, man, we know for a fact, pointing anything at the cops, you can fuck around and get killed. Like, you have to have a good fucking, cop with good nerves and everything, and who has good sight and can see, and he's not freaking out. I was like, and that's still too much, because you're relying on somebody else's emotions in a high emotion situation. And I'm like, and that's why I tell people, I was like, yeah, man, I was like, I'm gonna tell you right now, man, I can't really rock with you on this. I can't agree with you on this. And I had got some pushback.
Yeah.
They were like, well, he knew that the taser. I was like, okay, let's say the cop did know the taser. Right? I was like, but how did he? It's like, he also didn't know if the guy went for his waist and pulled out a gun and turned around. I was like, they're like, oh, he saw the taser. I was like, no, man, he kind of responded like the moment the guy turned around, and you can see the guy pulled the trigger on the taser. And I was like, that's why I was like, fuck, there's nothing I can defend about this. I was like, I can't say, oh, man, he was trying to get away and he got shot in the back. Like, if he would have got shot in the back and he was running, oh, yeah, man, you just committed murder, bro. Like, I get he was fighting. I was like, but if he's running away and you just let off 7 shots, or however many times he got shot.
Totally different.
Yeah, that's like, we're talking about murder, because that actually happened to a guy named Walter Scott. And, I forgot where it was. But the cop
in North Carolina?
Yeah, it might have been. I think so. But he got hit with murder because the guy, they were like, oh, he was fighting him. It was like, really, he was pushing him off him. And the guy ran, and the cop just basically unloaded a whole clip into the guy's back. And he was like 20 feet away, 20, 30 feet away from him. And he didn't know he was being recorded. So, and then he tried to go over there and say the guy had a gun, and he put it like all this shit that, unfortunately, because his body camera was off, obviously, that he could have gotten away with by just seeing. That's kind of the flip side. And I'm rambling because I'm trying to like loop you into all the shit me and Steve talk about in like a few seconds. But but back to what I'm saying, it's like that one I disagree with the Walter Scott. The one with Brooks, I'm like, I can't disagree with him. Like, but see, the problem is, then, like you said, the media tell me that this guy didn't, was innocent and blah, 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 because the media even gets into it. It's all opinion now. It's like, it's not even fucking news. And I'm like, well, I can't feel bad about this guy. It's like, what, so, and I'll tell you, like, it's not as bad. It's nowhere near as bad as the fucking.
I just wanted, Walter Scott was a Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah. I was like, because then right after him, that guy, and he's used to say he was a member of the Proud Boys, ran over to all those people. And then what's the name? In the
that doesn't matter. I don't want to keep
I just want to throw that in your face.
I know you will.
But no. So it's like, so to take it back to what you were saying, it's like, I know for a fact when I go outside, I never like my dad, and that's why I told Steve. I was like, people, like you said, 64, right? That's in reality, we're talking really 80s. It's like, the reason why I say that is because Steve would tell you, like, there's some people who are like, no, fuck this. I'm not doing this. I don't give a fuck about civil rights. Like, like, fuck your integration. Fuck all that. Like, people had to come in and force them years later, Right. So in reality, like, if you want to say, we'll say 70. So, and I told Steve, I was like, hey, man, you also got to give it a little time. Like, think about it. Unequivocal equal rights from the 70s until now. That's not a long time.
Right, but at the same time, you've had conversations with family members
no,
who
no.
said to you, "Be like, I thought it'd been over by now."
Oh no,
And
yeah.
if
They
anything,
definitely thought things would be different.
we know that social media so much is the worst place to like get an opinion from.
It's the worst
because they're
people,
always the squeakiest.
place.
You know what I mean?
And they always find
everybody's
facts.
just itching to fucking comment.
And
Everybody
they're
has a
behind
fact to back it up.
Right, right.
Well, and it was, and my point to that too, and to what you're saying is you're right. I mean, you look 70 years, 60 years since the Civil Rights Movement, right? Civil Rights Act. So that was what in the 50s, I believe.
65.
No,
65, 60s.
Yes.
So yeah, so a lot of people
65 or
tell me, and I have a
64.
lot of friends
64
that
64,
that I'll
sorry.
talk to about this as well, and they'll say, well, Brad, you have to understand that the oppression is real because it was really only 50 years ago, right? And so it's still fairly new. And I'm going, while I totally agree with that statement, I'm also looking at how far we've traveled in 50 years, right? Like, look how much more freedom there is.
Yeah, you got to do both. You got to do both.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be able to look at both because it's like, yeah, you're right. Like, and we have to be a little bit, I think, more sensitive to the fact of, that really wasn't you guys. I mean, like the African-American population still has a lot of family members that lived through that.
Yeah,
right?
My dad, my uncles, my aunts, I've heard people like, oh, this is 100 years ago. I'm like, bro, we're talking the 70s, man. My dad was born in 61. Like, my dad went to segregated schools. I told Steve, my dad was telling me a good story, like a fun story about a place called Shipley's Donuts. I want to keep plugging them, okay? Maybe they'll sponsor us one day. I love Shipley's Donuts. It's a southern thing. It's like Houston, Louisiana, Texas,
every time
Louisiana.
you bring it up, it's talking crap about.
Oh man, I fucking love them. I was like, but my dad was telling me he's from a place called Natchitoches, Louisiana. It is a little, podunk town in Louisiana in the 60s and whatever. And he was telling me about a good story, like a happy story. Like, oh man, we used to get up early and we'd walk to the place because they were poor. We'd walk to the place, and he was like, man, we'd get there. And he was like, we'd sit in that all-white park on that all-white bench, and we'd eat those donuts while they were hot before the all-white patrol came because we knew that, we had to get out of there. But he's smiling and telling me the story, and I'm like, that sounds like a fucked up kind of story,
Why are you
Dad.
smiling?
Yeah, but because in his mind, it was a good time. He was like, it's the life we had to live. And he's like, and he's smiling. He's like, oh man, but those donuts were so good. We'd eat them quick, and then sometimes we have to run out of there. And I'm like, yeah, this sounds horrible. Like, what do you mean the all-white park on the all-white bench and eat it before the all-white patrol came?
It's gonna sound bad, but I bet that's half the reason the donuts were that much better because they weren't supposed
to
be there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Oh,
anything you're not supposed to do, and you're doing it like, yeah, this is great.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. That's like because he grew. I grew up on him. He force fed me, and I love him. But it was just interesting because I was like, because that's why I told Steve. I was like,
not that that makes it okay.
No. When I hear certain people go, because now the only thing I'll tell, and me and Steve have talked about this. My biggest issue is like not being sensitive to past. As if it because the people like slavery was over 400 years ago. I'm like, bro, why are you forgetting about Jim Crow, segregation, all this shit that came along with? Like, that's just over. We're talking 50 years ago, and we're not even really talking that because Bank of America got in trouble for giving higher interest loans to people of color than people who were white. Like, they had to pay hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, it was proven. Like, these are facts. Like,
right.
While we're getting better, we're still. It's like we're still pointing out the bad, but we don't have to. Now we don't have to live in the bad. So that's a good thing. Like, and then Steve, he'll tell you, learning about our history rather than what the school teaches us, you'll learn that there's been so many more black innovators and positive people, and like I got my son a book. It's like the 100. Like in the last 100 years or something, like 100 greatest black innovators in America. That's just America. We're not even talking about the world. So I get them stuff like that. Now I also have to get when I do the other history, it's going to tell about slavery. But it's like you might talk about Nat Turner, might talk about slavery votes, might talk about how the Caribbeans were one of the first places. One of the reasons they're poor now because of the British, because they took all their money away and they fined them and all this shit. But they fought back on slavery to the point that like there was no slavery, but what happened was the British were like, we're not doing shit with importing or exporting, and they're poor now.
That was the French.
Up. French, that's one. Yeah. I was like, but
Haiti.
Yeah, Haiti. I was gonna say, but they successfully fought that off. Like, let's talk.
By the way, they use that in America as that's why when I said, oh hey, I know why white people were scared of slaves and black people back then because like
they use that.
They use it as like, every white person massacred by black black slaves, and they're like, oh no, they're gonna take over. So that fear of slaves taking over started because of Haiti. They're like, hey, look what happened to Haiti. You better keep him under control.
Did you ever
know what
see
I mean?
Django?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I know you saw Django. Do you remember when Leonardo DiCaprio was talking? He had that skull.
Yeah.
And he was like, "This is his like favorite, whatever the fuck it was, like his favorite servant or whatever." And he was like, "You see this part right here? If you hit this part or something, it makes him real subservient." Like, and it's also weird because it was like, you know, on a plantation, it's like if a big rich plantation might have 50, 100 slaves or some shit like that, something crazy, and it's like, you know, just 20 of y'all could fuck those guys up, you know, and it
that happened multiple times. Though.
Hold on. I was going to say, Kanye, when he said slavery was a choice.
Oh, man, I need another drink now.
Right? I slightly understood what he meant. I don't think he knew what he was what he was really saying. What he was trying to say, like, it's a concept. I was like, it is a concept. I was like, because they brought God into it. They pointed, like, people would point to the Bible.
It was very manipulative.
Yeah, it was really manipulative. And it was
did you know?
Go ahead.
And what to the point of just everything that's going on today in scientists, right? Scientists were proving as to why black people were meant and created to be slaves. They're like, well, they got bigger hands, their skull, brain, and this, and they were like going around justifying all this to justify slavery. And I'm like,
far more athletic.
Oh yeah,
you know. Yeah, the Dunkin' Donuts these days.
That's like the that's also the Bill Burr skit that we talk about. Like, hey man, you can't give somebody, you know, free recreational time and get them the biggest, strongest people and then wonder why they dominate every sport. Like, yeah.
How many highlight reels are gonna watch a black guy just done? All right, anyway, let's get this thing back on topic because we
But like
so here, like I'll also say, because to the point you were making earlier, something else that always stands out to me, and you know, think about when we worked for Fastenal, right?
Yeah.
Fastenal used to allow all their employees to drive trucks home, right? Every day.
Really?
That was did you know that?
Pre
some issues, which I'm getting ready to elaborate on. But every employee could take their truck home, no problem.
Right.
Well, what happened, right? DUIs, people abusing the rule, taking it on trips, getting in accidents on those trips, and then Fastenal's insurance, because Fastenal's a self-insured company, was held liable for everything that happened.
Right.
So it's the term or the mindset of, you know, you give some freedom and then people take a mile as a whole, right? And that applies, I think, to a lot of things in general, because, you know, now we have to put in rules. So when you're talking about people having their phones out now, videotaping everything, right? There's going to be some type of rule put in place to counteract that at some point or another, because it's being almost borderline abused to the point now where they're videotaping everything and they're only capturing what they want people to see instead of providing the entire video.
Well, yeah, exactly. The disingenuous things and how you can edit stuff. Trust me, I can take this whole podcast and make him look like an asshole just by like taking one snip here, one snip here, gluing it all together in one continuous clip. You know what I mean? But people be like, he said what? And it's like, he said that 30 seconds here, 10 seconds there, and I made it all sound fluid, and that's not that hard to do.
Exactly. Now, I was like, now that particular copy, I was like, see, I just think more, because the same thing with the body camera. It's like, the body camera's only going to catch so much. It's only like Steve's not going to see what me and this guy are talking
I just want to bring it back to like, okay, like the question still pegs. Like, okay, as a white person, you're hearing all this stuff on social media. It's like, oh, like we're being so oppressed. We're being on this, like, I'm seeing some cop videos. You know what I mean? And I get, again, it's still there. And like you could say the Bank of America thing, sure. And like it's kind of one of those things. And this is why I want to say this real quick. And it's just like when I was talking to you about listening to this podcast, I went down to Virginia this weekend and I listened to this podcast on the way down. It's called The Atlanta Monster. And it's about serial killer, allegedly, whatever, it doesn't matter. Kids. 25 kids went missing in Atlanta back in the 80s, right? Yeah. Early 80s, late 70s.
And they were like blaming white.
So
they couldn't really figure out who to blame. And they still don't really know to this day.
Yeah, and it's just they didn't have enough evidence, but the style of killing fit this one particular guy that they caught and prosecuted.
But they only pinned him for like 2, right?
Pinned him for 2. Yeah. But the funny thing is, like, it just showed racial divide in our biases in it, because it shows, like, oh, if they asked a black person, he's innocent. They asked a white person, he's guilty. And at the end of the day, what makes me, and honestly, through the time of talking about this, I scratch my head. I'm like, are white people just the boogeyman to, you know what I mean, to black people? Because they're like, oh, he's innocent. It's like, they got a lot of evidence, and white people are like, oh, guilty. And then it was because the white people thought it was a black guy, the black people thought it was a Klansman, and they it was like a bickering thing that caused more racial tension and started all this other stuff, because, like, no, you think, and it's like they wouldn't have a conversation and just talk about it. And that's what I think happens a lot today. And, like, even the Bank of America thing, and, like, I heard somebody, he's like a real prominent guy from the 70s, he's still alive today, but he's a black conservative. He's not a real, no, not him. I know him. He's not real in, like, the limelight, but he was like, yeah, you look at, like, why loans weren't given. It's like, okay, you know, and I don't know if this is Bank of America specific, but it's like, okay, you needed credit to get lending money, and black people didn't have any credit. So it was like, and I'm not saying that's okay, because they had no way to build credit, but that could have been like the Bank of America case. It's like, hey, and if you have no credit or low credit, you get a higher interest rate. You know what I mean?
No. With that one, I'm saying they got in trouble for purposely doing, like, the individual banks were like, I can't say it was a mandate.
But did they have lower credit? You know what I mean? You'd have to show credit scores. And that's why
what happened. They got in trouble because it was going out of their way to do.
I'll research it just because I'm curious.
I was like, because I remember, we're talking about like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
now.
I remember.
I was like, but at the time it was like, because they had to give up like $400 million, which is a drop in the bucket for them. But they had to pay out because of class action suit.
My point, I guess, it comes back to, is that perception the reality, or is that just what you perceive because you don't leave your echo chamber, and that's what you want to believe? You know what I mean? And racism's not going away.
Nah,
I've made that.
It's an idea.
It would take a long. Yeah, it's an idea. It's a long time. Like, you know, prime example, the pit bull. You've never seen a pit bull, but you're scared of a pit bull. That's engraved in you, and I'm not even saying by your parents. It's through media, social media, all the things you see and what comes into your feed.
Or just hearing people like, "Oh, you got a pit bull." Oh,
and that's why I think that's my opinion as to why it's somehow worse today than it ever has been. Is just because it's amplified.
People need to be better, right? People 100%. Just need to be better, and that's what it comes down to. Is, you know, and that, I mean, that kind of stems into another talking point that I was thinking of as well. Is, you know, we've heard, you know, I know you guys have talked about this, Steve. You and I've talked about it. You know, there was a lot of statistics out there that came from, you know, that said, oh, the reason that the black community has higher crime is because of lack of fathers, right? And that was a statistic that I think Ben Sharpio or somebody, probably some conservative, rolled out.
It's a conservative talking point now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But however, with that being said, while that could be true, it's also true in white families as well. Like, you know, and if you look at a white child that grew up without a father, they also have a much higher statistic.
Yeah. It's any child. It's any child, honestly. Any child comes from,
any child.
Like, broken or, like, you know, a single parent household, they exponentially have a higher rate of possibly being more of a criminal or dropout. Like, I forgot what else, but it's like just basically 100%. Any child
graduating high school.
It's all
you said dropout, but that crime, and then also like
the best thing I saw, one of the best things I ever saw was, remember the Freddie Gray riots? Right down in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Like, I lived in White Marsh at that time. Right. So that was starting to creep up towards us, towards my fiance and I at that time. And that got pretty scary, because you kept seeing videos of white people getting pulled out of their cars and just having the shit kicked out of them.
Really?
Right. It was bad. I mean, people were literally just getting yanked out of their cars and just getting the shit kicked out of them for nothing. And so that was pretty wild to see.
Well, it's just like what you're seeing on the news now with Black Lives Matter. It's like a white guy trying to get through, and they're like, nope, whoop, pop up, you know.
Yeah. Or anybody representing Trump, really. Yeah. I mean, because that's being, you know, scrutinized pretty heavy too. But my point being, when those riots were going on, where's my point going with that? I guess a point that I lost it. I lost my point that I was trying to make, actually.
That's okay. We do it all the time.
We do it all the time.
But, you know, I guess I could spin it off on the fact of, you look at Baltimore as a whole, when they went through and did went through all their riots. They just, what was it? I believe it was about 17 or 18 buildings got burnt to the ground and 170 some cars. Right, that was the tally in Baltimore when
it was a lot of
when
money.
that was going on. Lots of money, right?
It was like $500 million or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Easily.
I know I heard it.
It was a lot.
Now the crazy thing is that when the George Floyd stuff came out and that all happened, you didn't hear much about Baltimore, considering Baltimore is the number one most crime-induced city in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
To be, to not have, to be that heavy of a metropolitan area and not even be listed as like the top 10 cities going through any type of rioting. I think it was because the population of Baltimore realized last time we did this shit, we ruined our fucking city, right? Like those are our friends and those are our family. Those are our friends and those are our family, and we fucking ruined that shit. And that was my personal take on it, just because I had a lot of friends that live down there, and that's kind of the mentality
went back to
that they filtered back
after the Freddie Gray thing. They went to the mayor and like, hey, you can rebuild this, and they're like, no,
and they're
like,
right, what do you mean you're not going to rebuild this?
It's like
that's what we pay taxes for.
I remember there was one. Was it like a Walgreens or something that got burned down?
That was at CVS.
Was CVS? It was like, and I remember they asked the owner or some shit like that, like, "Hey man, are you gonna rebuild?" He was like, "Fuck no,
I'm out."
Yeah, he was like, "I'm gonna get this insurance money. I'm out." And it was like, because then people were like, and like the people who really didn't have nothing to do with it, they were like, "Well, shit, now I don't have a CVS."
Yeah,
and it was one of those situations where it was like, it's gonna sound fucked up, so I'm gonna let you know that ahead of time.
That, by the way, when he says that, that means he's gonna say something negative about black people.
No. It's gonna be about what.
Oh, okay. Usually that's what you do. Like, this is gonna sound real bad.
No. Well, it depends. So, I was telling people, I was like, I feel the same way about and I've said this before about people who like go crazy and like just shoot random cops and shit. It's like, look, I do not agree with that, right? I do not agree with that. But why the fuck are you shooting innocent people, man? If you think this motherfucker guilty, go after his ass. Like, stop going after, like, with the guy who shot the people in Dallas, those cops, because he shot quite a few, or even those 2 cops who just got killed recently. It's like, the guy in Dallas was crazy, and he was like, I'm the fuck cops, blah, 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 and just, like, unloaded on the front door. Like, they didn't even know where they were getting shot from for a little while. And it was like, so you're mad at these 2 particular cops, or this cop, or what? I forgot why he was mad. Something happened in Dallas. And it was like, you're mad at this guy. And so you go and shoot these people. It's like, and this fucked up part. It's like, well, what if these are the good cops? Like, hey, buddy, if you're gonna go after somebody, go after that guy. It's like, it sounds fucked up. And it's, the same thing. It's like we're riding, and they kind of did it this time. And again, I'm sorry. It's like, hey man, if you're gonna burn up some shit, it shouldn't be your own shit.
Well,
yeah.
I'm just look, it's fucked up.
It's your area.
Not saying I agree with rioting and looting and all that shit. It's like, but like, hey man, make it make sense. Like,
yeah,
like you want to scare some people? Go to a different fucking neighborhood.
Hey mom, like, hey, where's the milk? We gotta go get some milk. Like, oh, we burned a grocery store down.
Like, no, they're never reopening again. I'm like, well, I kind of understand that. Like you said, I'm not going to sit here and say, no, man, they deserve to happen and blah, blah, blah. It's like, Steve will tell you, I know the judge who was in that case. And because he was getting death threats, and he said the same shit as I could not agree with him, because he was like, hey, man, present me the facts, present me evidence, not emotions, not opinions, actual evidence that this, and this happened. And he was like, I'll put the motherfuckers under the jail. He's like, but if you don't, and like he did, he's like, I gotta let him go.
Well, and that's where it becomes so everything's black and white. And I don't mean black and white. I mean,
like, no,
the color like black and white. It's cut and dry. Yeah, it's like okay, like I've said this multiple times. You got a black mayor, you got a black chief of police. You know, you got a black judge. It's like
cops on that.
Lots of them.
It's like 4 or 5.
And it's like, you can't. Not all those people are Uncle Toms. You know what I mean? They're black people too. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't use that card.
That's
and be
another
like,
topic we talk about too.
Here. Yeah, but you can't be like, again. Oh, you joined the white side. Yeah. Like you joined the dark side. Like this is Star Wars or something. Like no, that's not reality. Like you got to live in reality.
I should know a lot of black cops who join the cops because they had fucked up shit happen to them when they were younger by cops, and they were like, "I want to get in the system and
that's how it
change
should
blah, blah.
be.
I say, but I'm saying, I
Like
know,
if you leave an area and you loved, like you overcame, like that's the whole point of like a lot of people, and that's why like most Republicans are like, hey, that's the government doesn't do it. Charity should do it. Like it's like don't rely on the government to like get you out of a jam. Like make a charity organization because then you can regulate that charity and what the charity does as a people. Once the government gets your money, they ain't doing anything with it. Like it's going to campaign dollars and stuff.
I just remembered that point that I was going to make when I was talking about the Freddie Gray riots. So there was a video that went super viral and got real big. A story in general was the one kid who was out rioting.
Oh, his mom snatched him up,
and his mom snatched him up.
Yep.
And was like, "Get your ass back here! This is not how you act.
She legit
this is not what you do."
Ass up. Like
right out of the middle of like a
him
group.
and all, and smack him in the back of the head, and shit.
Yep.
People were like, "Fuck yeah!"
Yep. And she got also, and I loved what they did with that because I thought that was a really great message in the fact that she came out and did that. They gave her all sorts of grants to get him into college, helped pay for their. Oh yeah, they got shitloads of money because she. They choose to make a martyr out of her, right? Because she legitimately took her son from doing some criminal acts and pulled him back in.
Saw him on TV, like they were scanning. She was like, "Hold on, is that motherfucker?" Because he was supposed to be in school. Because a lot of that shit that y'all like people saw was actually like a lot of teenagers who were out of school. Oh, yeah. They were using it just to skip day, and they were using it to be bad as shit. And she fucking went up there and snatched his ass. And I'm going to tell you right now, on both sides, there wasn't anybody who was like, how dare she do that? I know my mom was like, she was like, Michael, I've been bigger than my mom since I was like 11, all right? Yeah. And she was like, I would have fucked you up. And she doesn't cuss. She was like, I would have fucked you up if you would have went out there. I would have did the exact same thing. She's like, actually, I would have did worse. She's like, they probably would have arrested me for abusing the shit out of you right then and there. It was like, but she was like, I would have did the same goddamn thing. And because I don't know not one mom or father, anybody who like has kids, is like, your kid's going out there to be bad. I don't care what race. Your kid's going out there to be bad. And you're like, hell no.
Yeah.
You will not fucking embarrass me. You will not do this shit. You will not put yourself in a bad situation because you're being dumb, So, hey, yeah, you're right. I didn't know she got all that shit, all that stuff with it.
They gave her son a full ride to they gave her son a full ride to a college, and then they gave her a bunch of money to like help support the household because she was a single mom. So yeah, they've really and I love what they did with that because that's the kind of things that personally I think as a country we need to do more, regardless of what your race is. When you see somebody ridicule and parent their child, because the whole issue with kids nowadays, and I do a lot of reading and listening to certain people like motivational speakers that talk about development of children, development of people. And it's all about Gen X, Gen Y, and how people as a whole don't today, parents allow their kids to do everything via their phone, Everything's done on the internet. Everything's done. Yeah. You order a pizza, you go online, you order your damn pizza. You're not even talking to anybody, to the point where the guy made the point that how many relationships are ending today by a person just stops talking to the other person.
Yeah.
Not even break up with them just because they want to avoid the negative confrontation, the
ghost
negative,
them, Yeah.
Just ghost them, and how detrimental and how much that shatters that person's confidence that just gets stopped talking to, And the guy was going into how parents aren't focusing on forcing their children to communicate and develop them that way. So what's happening is kids are getting to college, and then they're trying to find out who they are. They graduate, and then by the time they graduate, they're going, oh, I think I'm kind of this person, and that doesn't really match up with the career that I just got a degree in. And what do? They go back to school again, and they just continue this vicious circle and cycle because they don't know, hey, I don't know what I need to, what I really want to do because I haven't really had to communicate up to this point in my life. And then it's really now the guy was making the point that now today it's really up to the employers, the companies to develop people and to be patient with them, about, hey, you need to help people develop communication skills because they have not learned them up to this point. Kind of a wild listen.
That's why a lot of people jumped off of like hiring 4-year degreers because they're like, that don't mean anything. It's
Oh
like,
yeah.
it's
It's
like,
like, 'cause
all right,
it's-
all right, let's
I told you.
let's bring in a 30-year-old with experience that doesn't have any degree. Oh, this kid,
I was like, yeah,
this
Trump
kid's an
pushed that
idiot.
shit through for like, was it federally? So that's
Yeah,
nationwide, right?
for the government.
Yeah, it's like where they take away like if you have experience, or if they add on like what's it? Not excluding people because they don't have 4-year degrees and master's degree and shit like that. But no, I'll tell you what you just said because I have 2 kids. I have a 12-year-old and I have a 3-year-old. I said 2-year-old. And my son now also with COVID, it kind of it fucked up pretty much everything for his social life. Like can't go outside. He talks to his friends. You know they play games and shit over it. So, but like my son, I can see that kind of slight decline because he's like his mother. He's never really been the outgoing person or whatever because he never really had to be. I had to be because I was like the only child. Plus I was in different like areas growing up. You know I didn't stay in the same area all my life. But I was noticing, so like I'll sit with him sometimes and I'll mess with him. Like even just like talking shit. Like I literally was teaching my son how to talk shit because I was like, I was like, they're not like his friends at school. They're like, you can't talk about each other. You get in trouble. All this, and like they're for real get in trouble.
Right.
Like I remember in like 2nd grade, he called a girl like a poopy head or something like that, right? And the teacher for real, like he got her for real trouble. And I was like, hold on. Now I was like, how the fuck? Like, what did she say to him?
Yeah, it's too
I was
soft.
like, I know my son. I was like, he doesn't just come at people for no reason. And they were like, oh well, you know, I don't know what she said, but I heard him. I was like, hold up now, bitch. I was like, no. This is the part where I was. I didn't say hold a bitch, but I'm like, hold on, like you gotta. Like, you can't just tell me one side and tell me you caught my son doing it. It's like, okay, you caught my son doing it.
Miss Green.
Yeah, it's like, but I know my child. It was like, I'm not one of those parents who's going to agree with you. Like, I'm like, no, I'll smack him upside his goddamn head if he's doing wrong. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I'll say what's up. Yeah.
Like, I'm going to spank ass over here. Like, we whoop ass. It's like, but it was just interesting because I was like, I had to teach him because his friends, they were like, they brought up to like, you don't make fun of people. But like, seriously, like, no bully, 0 tolerance, all this. And I'm like, I'm going to be honest with you. I wish I had some of that shit because when I was getting bullied, ain't nobody come say my bitch, not even the teachers.
Well, the thing is,
like,
is the way that the thing is too is the way viral bullying is now.
Now that I was gonna say that I agree with
never ending.
Because
you know what I mean?
on top of that,
Like-
like it's been a couple cases where you had adults who didn't know the kid. Like you should fucking kill yourself. You're worth a piece of shit. Like you're 40 years old. Why are you telling a 16-year-old to kill himself? Or you know, a 13-year-old.
But they didn't know they were
like
16, you know, or 14. You know what I mean?
No, they knew the kid
Well,
was young.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Oh
Like,
yeah. But it's just the fact that people can hide behind and be evil. But like back to your point, it's like I purposely have to go out of my way. Like with this corona thing, I can tell you right now, I have slipped as a man because I'm like, well, we all chilling like shit.
We all have.
Yeah, I was
We
like,
all have
the corona thing is like because it was the first time where it was like his school is like school was delayed, and on top of that, it's not actual school. It was like then I was like, I'm not gonna put him back in school. Fuck that. I don't care what anybody says. But it was just interesting because like he was doing like we were doing basketball training, we were doing like soccer, we were doing all the stuff that was making him really, really social. And then the whole world shut down, and you can see the decline because it's like when we're talking at the dinner table or I'm talking, he's kind of like, he doesn't want to talk. He's also 12, so I'm not going to sit here and act like that's not, he
Right.
thinks it's too cool too. So I have to beat him up on a daily basis, like punch him or put him in a headlock, and then I'll yell into his little ear like, he loves his dad, guys. And, Dad, what are you doing? I'm like, what, you don't love me? I mean, and then he'll put it up so nobody can hear. I'm like, nah, put that back down. I want people to hear. I bought that son, bitch, all right? Like, you want to use it? You want to use it? He's like, I love you, Dad. It's like, but it's...
You walk out of the room and he's like, yeah, I just fucked your mom. Kid.
yeah. I was like, luckily, I don't hear it, but I was like, I know he's saying it. I was like, I know his friends are saying it, and when we're probably sleeping, he's up. I know he's probably going crazy. It's like, I would actually like to hear it because I've never heard it.
Yeah,
I've never heard him cuss without me. He's like, hey, do you say damn or shit? And he's like, no. He's still my little goofy little boy. But I'm saying that because I can see like his friends. He was like, yeah, my one friend, I had to stop. Like he told me he had to stop talking to a kid online because that kid was just going crazy, cussing, saying racial stuff, all this, and he was like, he's like, Dad, I didn't even want to listen to it. I'm like, God damn, you're 12 and it was too much for you? I was like, what the fuck is this guy saying?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But he was like, he said he saw his friend gradually getting worse. And it was like, if you see this, you know what I'm saying? I was like, first of all, I was proud of seeing that. But secondly, it was like, damn,
Absolutely.
like this, like on top of just the social media and everything fucking up the world, I was like, because I don't, like you said, people are not going to know how to talk. I remember I had to sign checks and call the pizza place. Like you were saying, I used to have to call the pizza place, put the order in if I wanted the pizza, and then I would have to write a check out that my dad would give me. I had to write the check out correctly and then give it to the people when they came to the door.
Yeah.
So it was like a 3-step process where like I said, I had to engage them over the phone, I had to write the check, and then I had to engage them in person, you know, and then take the pizza and all that. And he'd make me go inside the grocery store. He was also being lazy. Let's cut the shit. He was also being lazy. He didn't want to go in there, but he was like, hey, go in there and give me a couple Cokes and, you know, get yourself something, you know. But doing all this stuff that I had to do on my own, because I was like, I realized my son I don't really have, like, I'm also afraid of stuff. You know, I've watched too much crazy stuff. It was like, and he's not as big as I was. So it's like, I worry about that type of stuff, but at the same time, it was like, he's not getting that social aspect. That's why it's like, I can talk to anybody. I notice changes in people's moods and attitudes and stuff like that. Or like while me and Steve, like, we would get into it sometimes. It was never crazy, like we were angry at each other, but we would get into it. But then I can also be like, hey, you want to go to McDonald's? You know?
Yeah.
And then his fat ass would get like 5 burgers.
Well, the thing is, you got to be able to agree to disagree too on things.
But see,
like,
that's what I'm saying. That's like,
hey man, we just got different views, and people don't do that anymore.
but all that stuff that my parents would force me to do, even though, like I said, sometimes they were being lazy or they were doing it on purpose, it helped me like be more social, know how to talk to people, learn, you know, all this stuff.
Absolutely.
It was like,
Sports.
and that's not happening now. Without COVID, it wasn't happening as much with kids today either.
And that's to kind of get it, like,
also being fed. That's what I say. We could steer that towards the racing, because that's like,
well, that's what I was saying. That's exactly what I
fed.
was gonna do. I was like, you get fed all these things that, like, world revolves around you, this, that, and the other.
Mhm.
You have none of these social skills, so all you're doing is spending time in these little tiny horrible places called social media, where it's
Yeah.
like you're getting the worst of everything, and you know that comes back through you, and you think that's how the world really is. You think that silent majority is the loud.
I wouldn't say majority. I would just say,
Excuse me, you hear that
yeah,
loud minority, and you think it's the majority
yeah.
because that's the world you live in.
Yeah.
And to bring that back to, you know, racism, it's like, okay, like these little young people who have zero social skills, that don't get out there, that don't leave their house, especially at a time like this with COVID, it's compounding down over and over. And then they think that's how the real world is. And it's like, no, like, realistically, it's not. But that's why I think, to Brad's point, I guess, of asking the question in the first place, it's like, okay, I'm looking for differences. Sure, I can find some cop videos, but just as simple, I can find some white videos. And you and I have talked the statistics and everything over and over again. So it comes down to, of like, you hear, like, again, you hear what was mean. I'm like, okay, like, where is it? Where is it? And it's like, I don't see it. And they're like, here it comes. Here it comes. You're racist. And you're like,
yeah.
What? And it's funny too, because, you know, Brad, it's like, if somebody calls you a racist, everybody expects what's the first comeback?
Wait, what did you say? I'm not racist. Well, no, you said the guy said it. It's like, you can prove that somebody's racist.
Well, that's where I was going with this. It's like, you know, everybody waits for the comeback. I got a black friend. And it's like, and it's like, yeah, that's what you're gonna say. And you know,
I would say, like, well, how many? I was like, I don't know how many black friends I got. How come you can count them?
Yeah, and it's like, I got 2, and or like, I had a black girlfriend. It's like, 1. You know what I mean? It's
like, why don't you have a black wife?
But the point is like, the second you try, if somebody calls you racist, there's no way to come back and defend being not racist. You know, you can't. You can prove somebody's racist, but you can't prove you're not racist. So it's like, I mean, it's the trump card.
Yeah, I've always been, and I'll use the term, and I don't know if really racist is the right word, but I've always really been just against the shitty group of every type of person.
Of course. Yeah. But that's the point.
That's reality. What you're talking about is reality. Yeah.
Right.
We all hate that.
Because you have
they make y'all look
fucking bad. White people. You have shitty Mexicans. You have shitty of every race out there. Met one. Right. And like, you know, my experience, right, you know, I you know, moving to Colorado, it was interesting because everybody here
Hey man,
they don't understand racism
what's
at
up,
all.
bro?
They really don't. They're like, roll that joint, bro. That's
I
and
love
that's
everybody.
it. But good vibes. Fucking hate that shit. But but it's like, well, I mean, Kristen and I, gosh, we would go into Baltimore a lot, and when we were in Baltimore, we were the minority, right? Sure. Like for sure, and like Baltimore has a lot of really great people in it. It also has a lot of really, really ghetto people in it, right? And I mean, when I say ghetto people, I'm not saying just black. I mean of every race, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Like it is a ghetto city, like very much so. That's why it's got the highest crime rate in the entire country. And so when when I'm like, yeah, oh yeah.
It depends on the Chicago. It like so everybody thinks Chicago, but that's just gun deaths, gun violence. But crime as a whole, Baltimore is very high.
I didn't know it. I would say East St. Louis or some shit.
It was. I don't say it is the highest now, but it was. Anyway, I'm sorry, Brian.
Detroit was obviously up there too. But
Chicago's
my point was that like everybody here, I'm like, you guys, you haven't, if you've never lived in that area, you don't really understand. Like you can't walk down like just a back alley in Dundalk. You can't do that. You fucking die, right? Like it's legitimate. That will happen.
Oh yeah.
What's that?
No, I would say I do stay away from alleys.
Yeah, but you come out to Denver, like doesn't matter. Like you can walk down all the back alleys. You might run into some random.
That's a good point.
Random homeless, but you don't have it because it's such a it's just such a racially not divided negatively, but like split up when you look at like who's the majority, who's the minority. It's just really split. Like you don't really have like a certain race that's just dominating, I guess I would say.
Would have been,
so to that point, you know what I mean? Because that kind of hits on white privilege, but it's why I think a lot of people get upset about white privilege is if you look at the country as a whole, most of the population is in rural America. You know what I mean? Like, you can't say that as a whole because if you looked at voting, you would say, nah. But I mean, like, yeah, there's the pockets of cities, but I mean, like, there's a lot of rural area America that doesn't see a lot of black people. You know what I mean?
This is true.
And it's one of those things that, again, if you're somebody who's thinks everything is racist and you're looking for racist, like, and I just had this conversation with someone. It's like, hey, you come into my local little podunk hardware store and you're black. It's like people are gonna look at you weird. It would happen the same way as if you and I went to some of those places in Baltimore that it's there's not a single white person. Yeah. You're like flies in the buttermilk, as you would say. Like you're gonna stand out and everybody's gonna see you and everybody's gonna look at you, and it's not because they're like mad you're there or like they hate you. They're just like you're out of place. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, you say the needle stop, like when they walk into the bar.
Oh yeah, like if you ever seen the movie Animal House and they walk into the bar.
The Black Blues bar.
Yeah, and it's like as soon as they walk in, the record's like, and it was like, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, that's what that's like. But my point is like to say with white
privilege.
Yeah, white privilege. It's like when you come out here to the country, people are like, I get pulled over by cops. I get pulled over by cops. I do this. I do this. Like. The cop's not biased against this guy or that guy. They're just like, yeah, I pulled it over. But, if you think about it, it's all white people. So we're like, yeah, I don't see any of these variances. So then they say that you hear this white privilege. It's like, well, I didn't get a job last week because I was white. They hired the other white guy. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't. It's not like it's, again, that comes back to it's not black versus white. So there you don't see a thing that you could be like, well, that's white privilege. It's like, listen, man, I'm poor as poor. And I get it because it's always somehow brought back to not necessarily a work ethic, but an advantage thing because you're the majority. And out here, the minority is so small, they don't get discriminated against because if they were, they wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? They're just like,
yeah.
But that it's
kind of. You know what I told you? White privilege is in my mind.
I'm sure you have, but please rehash it because we're talking about it.
Oh, I just always say it's the benefit of the doubt.
Well, that's
it.
that's kind of what I was saying. It's
No,
like,
no. I'm saying like what you're talking about. I was like, I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about. Put it this way, and I think we talked about. Well, of course
yeah.
we have
But
talked about
hold
it.
on. See, that goes back to my thing though of
What you
black
mean?
versus white. You know
Oh.
what I mean? With this guy, who's your boogeyman? I always say that. It comes back to who's your boogeyman. You know what I mean? It's like in this Atlanta thing. It's like if you're black, oh, a white guy did
White
it.
guy did, yeah.
Oh, if you're white, nope, black guy did it. It's like it can't be that way. You just have to look at the facts, and if the facts lead you a certain way, you know what I mean. And unfortunately, I think people have this inherent bias in them that's going to be like, you know who did it. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
You know, and that sucks. But it's kind of like the OJ case. That was not about whether OJ did it or not. That was about race, fame,
money.
and a
Yeah.
guy that was in the KKK. You know what I mean? That cop.
Oh yeah, was he in it? I thought he was just racist. Like it was like.
Well, he was.
I
I can't say he was a Klan guy, but I know there was like
He got caught being racist. He got
caught being racist, and they're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, we're gonna have to push all that
Well,
evidence.
no,
out.
I was yeah. They pushed all the evidence aside. And was like, let's focus on this guy. And it was like, okay.
Yeah.
And everybody was cool with it because it was like I told like that goddamn glove. Like, if it doesn't fit, I was like, well, all he had to do was pull it down. Like he didn't even try to pull it down, and y'all were like, oh, doesn't fit.
Well, it's funny because like,
Like,
yeah,
what?
usually before I go murder
Okay.
someone, I make sure that gloves on good and
Yeah,
snug.
I was like, yeah. Well, you got to if you want to get your good finger grip. You know what I'm saying? But
Listen, when you're going up against a 5'6" white chick that's like $110,
I would say, yeah.
and you're a old NFL running back.
Well, he wasn't even
who's-
that old. He was only in his.
Well,
fucking,
that's what I mean. Like,
40s.
when I meant
40s,
old, I meant
40s, yeah.
retired. I should
Yeah.
have said retired, but it's like
Yeah.
nobody's like. I
And
think he
was
would have had
good
a
shape.
hard time.
Yeah, you know they actually said it was they tried to one of the new theories was his son did it because his son.
I've heard that, but
He was married to a black woman before he ever met
right,
that chick.
and resentment.
Yeah, so they were like his teenage son did it and he took the
rap.
Interesting.
rap for it. Yeah, because I guess the son was around somewhere or something.
I thought his son was only like 13 though.
No, I think he was older than that because OJ got married like young
Right.
to the black lady, and then because you got to remember we're talking like young. I'm talking about like he was in the NFL at the time, and then he met that chick years later.
Yeah, I remember I did some research on that theory, and I was like,
Yeah, it doesn't sound right, but at the same time, I still always, even as a kid, was like, because our teacher, I told you, our teacher was like, y'all play. And like brought in the TV and everything, and she was watching. It was a white lady, and she was like, "Oh my God, this doesn't make sense." But I do remember the part where he held up the glove, and I was like, "Why isn't he putting the glove on all the way? Like all he gotta do is pull it down."
Yeah.
I was like, if it got over this part, he can just yank it down. This part, I've done it with my own gloves. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I was like a fucking 9 or 10. I can't remember what year was that.
"Oh, we were young."
I think I probably was like 7. I probably was like 7.
Yeah,
'Cause you're a couple years old.
93, 94.
I was gonna say I think
So
I was 7.
7 or 8. I was either 7 or 8 when it happened, and because it was second grade, I remember that. But I just remember a teacher freaking out. But I remember before that, I was like, "Why didn't he pull his glove down?"
Yeah,
And then I remember my dad and them was like, "Oh shit! I wish I didn't get off. White people gonna go crazy now." And I was like, "Why?" And they were like, "Shit! They just let a black man off with murder." Like all the black people knew, like, "Yeah, he fucking murdered that bitch. Like, yeah, he murdered the shit out of her. Like he damn near decapitated her." Like when you found out about the thing, and when I got older, I was like, "Oh Jesus! I thought he just stabbed her." And stabbed the guy and then left. I didn't know he fucking almost cut her head off
Yeah.
and shit. And
Yeah.
stabbed the other dude a bunch of times. I was like, "Ooh, that's rage."
was a nice Ford Bronco though.
Yeah.
It wasn't even his. That's the thing about it. Everybody's like OJ's Bronco. It's like it was his best friend's Bronco.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, but again, OJ. We all know OJ was guilty. That's why they got his ass on that stealing shit. And gave him, they slapped it, gave him the.
They're
book.
like, "You doing life
Oh,
in prison
yeah.
now?"
Yeah. It was like he just stole some shit. They're like 15 years. Like, oh shit. Okay, all right. Y'all trying to get him back? I get it.
Hey, Twitter world.
Definitely.
So Steve, on your point, like
ahead.
you had mentioned, like some white privilege and all of that. So because it kind of sprung like two like thoughts in my head too, and I'm gonna combine them into really just one statement.
Okay.
But just the thought on, I've listened to a lot of people talk. Obviously, Morgan Freeman's somebody I respect the hell out of, great guy. And he talks about how he hates that we celebrate Black History Month.
Yeah, it's just
That
history.
is such a Go ahead.
He's like, it's just American history. It's just history.
Right.
Like, why he hates that. So that, and if it's like, so we have things like that in place, but then you take something like the legacy of Uncle Ben's and Aunt Jemima, right? And now you get rid of it, which I've heard a lot of uproar where it's like, what the fuck? Like, it's not like you were saying like slut whore Aunt Jemima, right? Or you know, whatever, like black Aunt Jemima. It was just Aunt Jemima's syrup and Uncle Ben's rice. But now there's all these things out there that are trying to abolish and have abolished Aunt Jemima.
It's the characters they represent, and I understand that, but
Yeah,
I
well,
don't want to go
Uncle
down
Ben,
that rabbit
I
hole.
would
Keep
say
going.
Uncle Ben didn't really have a negative connotation.
Well, he was supposed to be like Steven, apparently.
Yeah, well, they turned that into just
to fit the narrative.
I'll
right.
tell you just a quick little thing. White execs did that. Just the same people who
trying to
made Cleveland now as a black guy, and all these people are like, we're no longer going to play cartoon characters that are different races, but you can turn them white if you want. It's like, calm the fuck down. Nobody asked for any of that shit. I didn't ask for that. I know nobody I know.
But
it's like, no, that was a pandering. A serious pandering thing, because it was like,
we want to look PC
now,
in the right side of history.
I told Steve, Aunt Jemima has had some controversy in the past. People weren't a huge fan of it, but it wasn't a whole lot of people like, change that shit. Uncle Ben, I didn't even know. Like you said, you told me about that one. I said, I didn't even know that was an issue.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Quaker Oat guy. That's like,
Cream of wheat.
He became an issue. I was like, all right, what the fuck is going on? Like,
yeah.
God damn, y'all just not looking at the cereal or some shit? Like, what's going on? But I'm sorry, yeah. Aunt Jemima was like a mammy type situation, like the black slave who would raise the babies and all that. But it still wasn't that big of a deal. Like, people weren't like, oh my God. It's like,
rise up. Like, it's bullshit. Like,
oh, did you say Miss Buttersworth? I was like, she's not even. I was like, I mean, the syrup's brown, but it's just a clear bottle.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
So funny story. So I rep.
Wait, hold on. What was the rest of that point you were going down? Or were you just? That was the end.
Kind of stopped. It was just opinions on the syrup, on Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben's, and then also obviously the Black History Month.
Sorry, I just want to make sure you didn't have anything else to go with that. But
I will cut you off, and he will too.
And to your point, you're laughing about people pushing the narrative of whatever. So I represent a company that manufactures ladders, and this blew my mind. So
I want to hear it.
The ladder has a sticker on the side, right?
I already know what this is.
And the sticker is, because people are fucking stupid, don't have any common sense, how to climb a ladder and how not to climb a ladder, right?
Okay, what's wrong with that?
So the how to climb, they had to do a comparison to say right and wrong. The right was a white stick figure with a black outline, and the wrong was a black figure. But stick figure, it was just a stick figure, right? Just to show the difference.
So let
me make sure I got it straight. The first one, they were both black stick figures.
They're both stick figures.
So it's like black and white.
So it's like this. Let me do this.
It'll.
Yeah, I was like, because I'm trying. I was like, what? I was like, because if you did white, you wouldn't be able to see it. That's why I'm like, how?
Well, it does a black background with a white guy and a white background.
That.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And all it was stick figures just to show contrast of right and wrong. BLM was suing the ladder company because they said it was racist how they portrayed that. Huh?
They were suing the company you work for right now, or that you did work for.
Not the company I work for. It's somebody I work with. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
But this was like a year ago. BLM was suing them because they said that the way that they displayed.
I'll put this in the podcast, but you can see in the yellow there, it's a white guy. It's like, this is how you do it, and the black guy's falling.
You know it's racist.
Nah, see. Good night.
That's right. Like, you know what? I'm sticking with BLM all the way. Where's the camera?
No, I'm kidding. And they were just like, holy shit! We're being sued for this, and it's not even something we ever we didn't. Nobody did that intentionally. Went, oh, we're gonna make this a black guy because fuck them. That was never a thought in the person's head. They just put the fucking picture up there to distinguish between right and wrong, and we just need to have some contrast here. You could do it red and blue, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. So they had to actually go through and rechange all of their stickers.
They actually changed it?
Oh yeah, they had to.
Oh,
so it's
wait. A judge saw that and was like, "Hey man, if y'all don't change this, y'all gonna lose."
to that point, and I was just listening to this watered down podcast, and it was like this guy, this black guy, man, he was stretching it. He was trying to say how like coffee's racist.
No, the coffee
because the filter,
right?
the coffee filter's white, and it strains the black coffee, and I'm like.
But it still comes out black.
If anything, that's teamwork to make a product that people can drink. I don't know how that's negative. He was like, soap's racist because everybody uses white soap, but I use black soap. I'm like, oh, you got
There actually is a thing called black soap. It's supposed to be better for your skin.
You got to be kidding
especially
me.
if you like black. But I will tell you,
the
use
other thing
green
is
soap.
they made how you seen the movie Sandlot and the Beast.
I was pissed off
because
at this
James Earl Jones was the black guy and he owned the Beast, and then like, oh, Darth Vader was black, and it was.
Wait, no, you said he got
mad
mad at Darth Vader for what? Oh,
because Darth Vader color was black, and James Earl Jones was his voice. It's
but
like,
he
yeah,
was
that's
supposed to be a burned white guy.
Yeah, I was like, well, that's just
There
because
is
his
a
voice
thing
sounded
called
cool.
light and dark, right? Like light and dark, not black and white. Like light and dark.
But if you think
light,
about it,
bright, dark.
when you talk
dark.
about, and I thought about this yesterday, like when you think about race,
Uh-huh.
I'm not like that yellow guy today cut me off. You know, I'm like, well, that black guy, well, that white guy. Is he black guy or white guy?
Yeah.
You know, we don't say like.
Or Chinese.
It's usually just like the Asian guy.
Well, if it's a bad
Like,
driver, I usually
Bill Burr,
say
that
fuck,
Asian
must be a
motherfucker.
woman driving.
I might have to edit that out. Just kidding. But I'm just saying, like, no other race is like, you know what I mean? It's black or white. There's no. Yeah, I mean, there's not that many other ones, but you know what I mean? Not that red skin, you know, it's like, yeah, an Indian guy, you know what I mean?
Which is also a funny thing. God damn, what did you say? Oh, I was telling the Sandlot one, because I was like, hold on. The fact that James Earl Jones came out the back.
Yeah, how's he a bad guy? He's a bad
First
guy
of all,
because you said he was a bad guy.
He
That's
saved the kid because wasn't the Beast about to get him, and then because he's
no,
blind.
the beast was like about to get him. He came up and just started licking his face. Like they just made a mountain out of a molehill. Like, and that's kind of funny, ironic how that's life. Because like, oh, you know, this guy's gonna hurt me. This guy's gonna hurt me.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, oh, I'm nice.
Now listen, I'm gonna tell you, the Beast was a scary motherfucker until he got into that backyard. He did chase. I'm gonna be honest, it's the only dog chase I ever seen last for like goddamn, was it 20 minutes of the movie?
Yeah.
They ran through every fucking thing, and then he got to him and just licked him, and then he was like, "Come here, Beast." It was like, what?
Well, his name wasn't actually Beast. I don't. No, they made that up because he's like,
Oh, they
come
called him
here.
the Beast.
Hey, come on in, I'll give you another ball. I know, babe.
Yeah.
I got like 50 of them things. But the
Yeah,
point is,
exactly.
like, dude, you could take
The
anything.
coffee filter thing was pretty funny.
You can make anything. Anything can be racist, and it's like, dude,
Anything
Coffee
at all.
filter.
and it comes back to like being like, when we have these conversations, it's like you have sort of like, I don't want to say bait questions, but like
Oh, I do.
test questions. Yeah, you know what I mean, like a test question. Like,
Oh, yeah.
how's he gonna answer this question that's blatantly? If you say you disagree, you're like, yeah, okay, we're done. You know what I mean? So it's like to that point when you're white and somebody calls you racist, you're like, that's the best thing you
I'ma
got.
tell
Like
you right now,
that's the conversation ever.
That is a white thing because like I was telling Steve, somebody calls me racist, let's go, okay. It's like, and
Yeah, it really bothers white people, but it.
Oh yeah, it's like I think every other besides that guy, but he grew up in the suburbs with white people, so I think that might trick him. I don't know. Either way, it's like,
Yeah.
but I was like, I think I've been called racist a few times, like for real. Like somebody's like, you're being racist, and I was like, am I? Like, all right. It's like I'm probably not. Like it was like I was just an asshole with it, and it was like, yeah. I told one person, I was like, hey, I'm not white. It's not gonna affect me. I'm gonna be honest with you.
But
And
that
they were
comes
like,
back to
oh,
that.
that's even more racist. I was like, still not working.
That
you got
comes-
to tell me something.
That comes back to
Right.
that mentality though of like, like always mess with you. If
It
it ain't
does
white,
suck to be
it ain't
white.
right. You know what I mean? Like people actually think that. But
Oh, yeah.
same thing on the other side. It's like,
Well, Chris,
if it ain't black, it ain't right. It's like,
to
dude, I don't care- I
to
mean, come
correct
on.
him, Chris Rock said that for everybody. So yeah, I do this every now and then.
Because I say something that sounds really racist,
but
and it's
he's
always from
actually
a joke.
Yeah, he's saying somebody else's joke. And
Right.
I have to remind people, hey, what did we do last time? You said some we're
Tom
not
Segura.
involved. Yeah.
Cricket. Anyway,
But
so yeah.
fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say after that. I was like, to your point, sir, because what did you just that's where I come in with the common sense thing, because I'm like, I'll be around some people sometimes. I don't hang out with too many people who like overreact like that. It's like in the past I would have, and as I got older, I was like,
I don't think too many people do.
no, I was just, and that's what I said. You gotta live in reality because it's like come on now. And I was like, but nah, I know racist people. Black racist, white racist, Mexican, all that. And it's like, but at the same time, it was like, I don't hang out with too many people who get worked up like that. Because I'm like, look, man, I gotta, as long as I'm going to work and I gotta make some money and I, gotta pay my bills. I got kids and shit. I don't
Yeah,
like that. Whenever something gets too asinine for me, like in person when I'm talking to somebody, they're like, yeah, man, this is so crazy. I was like, look, man, I gotta go to work and I gotta make money. I got kids and shit. And everybody goes, yeah, I can't disagree with that. And it's like, I'm telling you, you gotta have some kids and shit. It's like, you get out a lot of shit with it. Like, if you don't want to come to work, oh man, the kids, I'm telling you. But that's just a little side note. But, because it's funny, because I'm like, I tell people, I was like, I don't think that was racist. No, that was definitely racist. Nah, man, I think you're hyping it up a little bit. And they're like, and then that's when I get the side eye, like, wait a second. What are you trying to say? I was like, I kind of said it. I don't think that was racist. Like, I told Steve he's fucking with some of my relationships with people that I know. It's like they started to call me. Well, first they don't call me all the time. They say I'm a Trump supporter. They're like, you must be a Trump supporter. I was like, I mean, I didn't say that. I don't remember saying that. And they're like, and now I'm from Texas, so I also get considered a conservative. I was like, well, I'm not on either side, guys. I'm in the middle. Like, you can even look at my little registration card. It says, and I'm like, fuck that. You're this. I'm like, do you realize that I have other people who think I'm fucking liberal as shit? It's like, so for you to call me conservative, it's like, it's funny to me. And then it's funny when they say it. I was like, so
who am I?
You both.
I think I'm just in the middle.
Like,
I was talking to a guy. I was talking to a guy one time, and he was telling me about like I was explaining how politics today is new age religion, is like old school religion, right? When you look at like the talks and how much like what people will go to fucking war over it, right? And I was saying how like I'm not anybody to tell somebody that God's like real. Like, I think God's real. I believe in God, right? That's my personal belief. But if somebody's entitled to their opinion, and I'm not put here to tell them their opinion's wrong, right? That's it.
Right.
And the guy was like, "You're a fucking atheist." I was like, how am I an atheist? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I said, I believe in God. I said, I'm just saying that I can't tell somebody that their beliefs are wrong. Whether it's Allah, whether it's Buddha, whomever it is, right? Like, I can't tell somebody that their beliefs are incorrect. Or some people don't believe, like, what actual atheists do believe is that there are no gods, right? And that you die and become one with this earth. And that's like the mindset. So it's like, but I was like, wait, what? Like, I'm an atheist because I said that I don't judge other people's beliefs? Like,
of course you are.
Stupid.
I told Stephen, atheists made me believe in Jesus. Because for a long time, I'm like, oh, yeah, I believe in God. I was like, Jesus, that guy wasn't real. And then the atheist, this atheist guy, man, he was, I used to work when I first got up here at like a liquor store. He was like, well, if you believe in God, why the fuck you don't believe in Jesus Christ? He was like, but he said it in a negative way. He was like, if you believe in one made up person, why not the next? And I was like, I mean, shit, you got me there. Like, if I'm gonna believe in God, I'm not, hey, throw Jesus Christ in there too, man. I was like,
tip my hat to you.
Yeah, it was like, you know what? You got me. But I also tell everybody, I was like, look, man, I don't care if you fucking worship a big fish in the sky. If it makes you a better person, I'm all cool. As long as it makes you a better person and you don't shit on me. Because I got some Jehovah's Witness friends, and I told you about my Black Israelite friend. He tells me all the time, I'm going to go to hell because, I don't worship Yahweh. I think that's what it is. Yeah, but I also keep him around because he's funny. In between being an asshole, he's funny. But I've always told people, I was like, I don't give a fuck what you, as long as it makes you a better person, you don't come over here shit talking me. Hey man, look, you be like, hey, I got to go rub some dirt on my asshole because the big fish in the sky said I got to do it every few days. So yeah, I'm like, hey man, wash your fucking hands and go to the bathroom with that shit. But come on back when you're done.
I like how you're pulling that out of
what?
Oh, what's that? That show. Oh, come on, with all the octopuses, squids fall down.
Oh, Watchmen.
Watchmen, yeah, that from Watchmen.
Well, no, but I was like, it's funny because you saw how he did it. He like, and like clockwork, every Tuesday or once a month, every Tuesday, he would just turn the dial, let the shit fall, and have people afraid because that's what brought the whole, like, did you watch it?
No, I haven't.
It's a TV show.
It
on
came from a
HBO.
movie. It came
Yeah,
from,
but it's
comic
good.
You know what? I started to watch it. I watched it in the beginning. It's like
There's a lot of dicks in that. A lot of dicks. I was not happy with the amount of dicks.
Wasn't there like in the beginning? Wasn't there like a person that was dead hanging on a tree?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the cop. Yeah, but then you find out why he was there and all that shit. So yeah.
So I started to watch. I actually enjoyed it. It was something Chris and I started. We never finished at all. But yeah, I never did get the chance to finish that.
Just heads up, it gets a lot more dicky, like a lot of dicks.
Yeah, it's definitely a good. It's a good show.
No, it's a good show though. I will say because I told Steve because it actually helped bring up one of the things, a Tulsa race ride. So was it 19?
Yeah, that's actually the opening scene.
Yeah, that's what you see. Yeah, and that opening scene is an actual thing that happened. But in their reality, people got paid who were descendants of that. They got something, and people were like, "You take your what did they say? Your something check, your Tulsa checks, or some shit like that."
So funny you say that because I was listening to a thing about like reparations.
Go ahead.
Well, you brought it up, but it was like, and I was trying real hard to be like, how could it work? What would happen? You know what I mean? Like,
when you say that.
you know what I mean? And it's like,
I was trying.
and I thought about it, and I was like, man, the one guy had a good point. It was like, because then what? It's like, then what? Like, how would that change anything? And I'm like, how would that change anything? Like, it's not like something like the internment camps or this, that, and the other where it just ended. You know, like when the internment camp happened, it just ended. Like for the World War II and the, you know, basically if you were Asian, you went into internment camp because of what happened at Pearl Harbor. They're like, all right, we don't know who's who. Sorry. Not to say the y'all look alike comment, but and then that
you resemble people we
right,
dislike.
and then you know the Germans paid reparations to the Jews, but again that just ended. Like this is something that's a ongoing thing with a long history. So now, like, if reparations were paid, think of all the people that were like on the other side of the fence, or like the I don't want to hear it's white people. They're gonna be like, hey. You got your money. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
You couldn't talk about
you know what I mean. Hey, we're giving this means it's over.
Yeah,
it's over. Even Stevens. And then
right.
and I thought about it. I'm like, yeah. I was like, that would be bad. Like because that's not going to solve anything. That's not going to change any of these things that we talk about.
1 month we get.
And that needs to go away. Period. Because
it needs to go away because
period.
Yeah. I was like, that's why I told you. I was like you were saying, where they like, hey, Martin Luther King. Like, now who is this woman who did this and this? Martina Luther King? You know what I'm saying? Like
that's a Chris Rock
idea.
bit.
Yeah. It's like, you don't know about Black history because they never taught you Black history. I was like, you learn about a lot of white people. And then you learn about like 5. You actually don't learn about a whole lot of white people, but you learn about way more.
Every person you learn about that's Black has to do with a civil rights movement.
Yeah.
Like Harriet Tubman freeing the slaves. You got Rosa Parks on the bus. You got Martin Luther King.
Which already happened by a 16-year-old, but because she was, I think she had a baby at the time, they didn't want to use her as forefront. So, because it was actually staged what Rosa Parks did, come to find out. It was like...
a lot of that stuff was staged.
Oh, yeah. But I'm saying hers was staged, but literally a 16-year-old girl with a baby was fucking tired and was like, look, man, I got this goddamn baby I've been carrying everywhere. I'm fucking tired.
No. So the Rosa Parks thing, they're like...
that's what I'm saying. Hers was staged, yeah.
They're like, hey, no, but that was a lot. They're like, hey, on, October 11th, we're going out of that bus station. You're going to get on that bus and you're not leaving.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like, and they'd be like, hey, today we're going to go to the bathroom and we're all going.
Yeah.
And we're all using it. I'm like, oh, okay. That makes sense.
I mean, no, that's what I'm saying, because it was like...
But see, I was always under the impression that, like, this lady just had to go, and she just got on the bus. Like, I didn't know it was like, oh, no, this is organized.
It was a protest. Yeah, it was a protest. But I was saying it's just weird because it was like they already had somebody who did it legitimately. And
not that I'm bad, mother. I just thought it was interesting. You know what I mean?
I
didn't know that.
I mean, that's like, because in my mind, I'm like, ooh, that's a brave motherfucker. Like, white people could have killed you. Yeah. But if you got the bus surrounded by, like, a lot of other Black people or something, like, there to save you.
You
like,
can stay.
Yeah, they're like... Let's call the cops. We don't want to riot. You know what I'm saying? Like that's basically what happens. Like, call the cops. We don't want to riot.
Get the water hose.
Yeah, it's like this. But
and that, so just in the conversation, I definitely have another question that I'm really curious about because I couldn't imagine because multiple things. One, I'm not a parent, and you are, but how, like during all of the like the COVID, but obviously BLM as well, and the movement that's been going on and on for quite a while now. I look at this and I see a lot of people out there with putting their kids in fuck Trump shirts, right? And fuck white people shirts, right?
That.
And all of
I
that.
sent you that.
Yeah, you did. It was like a baby or some shit.
It's like
yeah,
2 little kids
and a fucking bib, right? Like
Yeah.
you know, with a. And I'm like in my head, I'm like, how can you parent that way? But then again, just from your perspective, man, like, how has it been parenting through all this? Like, is it like?
Well, the funny thing about it, so I realized my negative talk, and like my even my mom and us kind of realized it. But I remember one time before Trump was in office, when he was running, and everybody thought he was just a dumbass who, you know, was just in there. Because he'd been in there more than a few times and he just lost, you know what I'm saying? Like running for president, and everybody was like, get the fuck out of here. Fuck out of here, loser. You know what I'm saying?
Trump?
But, yeah, Trump. Because this wasn't his first go.
Trump's never run for president. No, this is his first go.
Yeah,
His first go?
He's just mentioned it
What about the year?
on
what about
Oprah and
the one
stuff.
before?
Mm-mm.
Oh, my bad. I thought he was at the debates or some shit. My bad. Either way, I think, maybe he's talked about it. It's something like that.
Definitely
Whatever.
talked about it.
But basically what happened was, no, at the time he was just talking shit about, he had a lot of steam for talking shit about Obama, the birthday, stuff like that. So, and then he was talking about running for president, and they were like, whatever, you're fucking stupid. And then he actually did it. But, yeah, you're right.
Well, that was like the ongoing joke because Obama was like, could you imagine if that guy was president? And he's like, you think so?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
But,
one?
Yeah, exactly. But, so basically what happened was we were like bad-mouthing them. And we're like, he's dumb, blah, blah, this, that, and third. And my son he's 12 now, so it's 2016. So he was about 8, I think, 7 or 8. And he was like, yeah, I hate Trump and I hate white people. And we were like, whoa, buddy.
See how it starts?
Yeah, because it was like he was around, and we weren't even talking about hating white people. We just threw that in there. But it was because he was white, he said that. So he was just repeating, I hate, and then another thing. And we, just like, man, Trump's dumb.
Wow.
This, that, and third. And he came in and he said, I hate Trump and I hate white people. And I instantly was like, fucked up on that one. Like, definitely got to watch what you say. Because,
You know what happened? What? He was there when you had your Black Panther Party friends over. And I always know when Mike's had him over because and he comes over, he's rabble-rousing. He's saying like, "Nah, I got your ass
and
today."
Then I get in and I'm all
calm
like, and shit.
I was like, what happened? He's like, I got over it in the 2-hour drive it takes to get here.
Yeah, exactly.
Calm down a little bit.
I was calm after that. I was like, once I got it out to you, I was pretty calm. But no, but so, and like I said, this was years ago, so I had to sit him down. And my mom and them were trying to talk to him. I was like, hold on, I got him. I was like, I went in there. I was like, hey, this was a parent fail. So, because you'll have a lot of those. You don't realize. You'll have a shit ton of them.
Dude, the difference is you owned it.
Oh, yeah, and especially with the first kid.
That's the biggest.
Well, so I brought him in there, and I remember I was telling him, and at the time he was going to, I think this was kindergarten. First grade, first grade. And I was like, do you hate white people? He was like, and I could see he was thinking, and he realized that I wasn't on his side, so he was like, I think so.
Don't lie, you were on the side.
No. This is my son. Like I said, he was like, I think so, and I was like, no, you don't. And he was like, why? I was like, he had two Russian friends, like they were twins, badass twins. I think I tell you.
Yeah,
about
you told me about the twins.
But I was like, what about? They literally was like Nikolai and something. I can't remember the other one. I was like, aren't they? I was like, are they white? He was like, I was like, what color? He was like, I guess they're white. I was like, yeah. I was like, but then I was like, they're Russian, so he could use that against me later. Then I asked him about this little white girl that he was in love with because she had long brown hair, and I was like, what about her? And what about this and that? And he was like, no. He said, those are my friends. I like them. I was like, so do you hate them? I was like, yeah. I was like, well, they would be considered white, right? And he was like, oh, okay. And he was like, Donald Trump. I was like, yeah, fuck him. No, I'm just kidding. But I told him, I was like, you don't hate Donald Trump. I was like, who was Donald Trump? And he was like,
the boogeyman.
He was like, I hear you guys talk about him a lot. He said, he's on TV, right? He's a white guy. I was like, well, yeah. I was like, he is on TV. He is white. I can't take that away from him. Like, those are actual facts. I was like, but I was like, you don't worry about it. I was like, this is politics. Don't listen to don't listen to daddy. Don't listen to mommy with that. Don't listen to grandpa, grandma, all that shit. I was like, come up with your own idea. And then I started talking over his head, and then with kids, you're just like, no, you don't. You know what I'm saying? You got to realize, you got to make it short and simple. Like, you don't dislike white people. You actually love them. Some of your best friends are white. I was like, even saying that, I was like, this sounds kind of racist. I was like, what a racist might say. I was like, and I told him, I was like, Donald Trump, I was like, you don't even know who he is. You're not even worried about him. I'm like, don't worry about it, buddy. I was like, by the time you're able to vote, there'll be some other person that people dislike in there, and you'll either be on that side or you won't. I was like, don't worry about it. And so I just realized that I had to kind of because we were in there like, oh my God, this idiot. Like, he's not even saying it, blah, he's so horrible, just talking shit about him. And I didn't, kids are like parrots. I'm pretty sure you've seen it, and you'll see it more. I don't know if you have kids or not. But you definitely have to watch what you say around them, because they will literally, and it's the reason why people say racism is taught, because it's like, nobody cared. Like, he had no idea what he was talking about. He heard it, and if I would have been like, hell yeah, son, you goddamn right, to see me do hell yeah, you goddamn right again, he would have said it a million more times. So, what is this? Are you putting in the video? I don't know what the fuck Steve is doing in the middle of me talking. Oh, yeah. There it is.
This is how his son hears it. Mike's driving down the road, like, just singing the words. He's like, oh, I don't know what this means to my kid.
Well, I mean, Mike, dude, first of all, like, I commend the shit out of you, man, for taking that approach
sense.
and being, you're right, it is common sense.
Because it's like, I can't have him being negative towards people.
If I did have kids and my kids were like, yeah, fuck black people,
how I got so loud.
This, that, and the other, I'd be like, no, time out. No, you need to be nice, right? Like, And I'll be very straight, dude. Like, and Steve knows this, but like, I grew up in a little, like, I wouldn't say a fully racist, but a little bit more of a racist household. Like, my grandfather and my dad both worked construction, and they ran into a lot of, and of course, all I ever heard was their side of the story. So I can't say, the reality of what
just happened.
The other side of it would look like. But we definitely had some times where they would say, hey man, I need you to grab this shovel and help me dig, to a black guy. And the guy would be like, why you got to make the black man do it? Right. So that was their experience, whether or not they're leaving out a huge fucking part of that story. Like maybe the fact that they only asked the black guy for help and couldn't ask the other 5 white guys on the crew, whatever the situation was.
You heard a lot of negative things.
I heard a lot of negative things for a long time. So, but dude, not to be cliche into what Steve said earlier and what you guys said earlier, but like, I had a lot of, like, some of my very best friends in high school were black. And I'll tell you what, man, like, I'll never forget, I had a party one time, and it was literally like, well, my high school only had like 6 black people in the entire high school, but I was friends with all of them, right? And I had a party, and it was literally, I didn't look at them as like, oh, they are my black friends. They were just my friends, right? Yeah. And that's all it was. And they came over, and my dad was like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, what? And he goes, who are all these kids out front? I was like, they're my friends from school. And he was like, and it was like, I could tell it was really tough for him because of the way he was raised by my grandfather. Right. But, they stayed over. They were and like when they left, my mom and dad both said they were the most polite friends you've ever had over to the house. Like, they were so polite. They were so nice, well-spoken. Like, they were good. They were good kids, is what my parents said. And it definitely flipped a switch for them big time in that mindset. But I got kind of off topic here. But
no, you're on topic.
Yeah, I mean, it was, for me, it was enlightening that they could see that things have changed, right? That it's not like, it doesn't have to be the way it was when you guys were kids or when you were teenagers, right? And segregation was still, discussed and being and a thing, right? So that was kind of a neat thing. But and more than anything, dude, I commend the fact that you took the appropriate steps to sit down, because I think about like what I would do in that situation as well, and I would do the exact same thing you have done. Like, absolutely not, kid. Like,
yeah. Well, because
son, daughter, whatever. That is not what that is not what you think.
To his point, and I just had to throw this in there real quick. Is and I always talk to you about this. Is like there's a different type of, in my opinion, there's like a different type of causing racism now, and it's not so much the it's like, for example, like he said with his dad, right? Well, why you gotta make the black man dig? And I get it from that black guy's perspective. He's like, okay, I see what's going on here, but like, and maybe that was, but that doesn't mean that's every time or every person. So then, and then I've talked about this, and I know you and I have talked about this. It's like, okay, when you are in that interview with the black person, it's you just can't help it. In the back of your mind, you're like, at some point in time, he's gonna be like, you're racist, or it's because I'm black, or this. And it's like, you know, like I told you, I couldn't like just flip out on somebody because, you know, it's like I had 2 black people working for me. It was another female, and I was like, I'd go to Mike and be like, hey, can you
it was funny.
Like, can you go tell her not to do this? Because I was like, I was just afraid of her being like, she was doing like the fro, like Black Power thing, like she was doing like the Foxy Cleopatra thing or whatever it is. And I'm coming at you, you know, and I was like, there's a lot going on there. I don't want nothing to do with. I'm like, hey, you go. You know what I mean?
I was saying,
but it's because
she came in with like this attitude and was trying to, but it's funny because I told Steve, I was like, man, I got mom and sisters who act the same way. You know what I do? Man, calm that shit down. What's wrong with you?
But I'm just saying, you know? if I would be like, they'd be like, hey, you're racist. And you see this, unfortunately, you see that happen with women though too, because of like this Me Too movement. Dudes are like, I don't know, like if it's like a good looking female, they're like, I ain't hiring you because like first off, you're gonna cause problems in the workplace, but like second off, like it goes back to that racism card. It becomes a trump card. It's like, oh, I can say anything now because I can say you did some stuff, and it's like, yeah, like you can't abuse that card, like because if you cry wolf too many times, nobody believes you anymore when you say wolf. It's like, hey, no wolf, get out of here. Yeah,
but no, it's an actual wolf this time. Yeah, I don't believe it.
Well, you're gonna get eaten. You know what I mean? It's like,
but no, yeah, like I told you, and I was like, because I've never seen a baby or a toddler or even little kids who haven't been like the mind has been poisoned. I've never seen them turn down another kid. Just recently, my dog. We were in the airport when we were renting a car. I went to Houston, and God, it was horrible. We were in there for like 2 hours.
Fuck down there.
No, not even that. Because we were in the rental car place for 2 hours. They had one person. It was like all the other places closed down. It was horrible. So 2 hours we're in there, and it was this lady who like got off the bus. I don't know if she was a single mother, but her and her daughter were like flying together, and they were trying to get home. And she was probably like a little 2-year-old going on 3, and my daughter's 3. And my daughter stared her down like, "We gonna play? We gonna play?" Like before they even start playing, like, I'm trying to figure this out. And the little white girl staring in the back like, "You down to play? I'm ready to clown." You know what I'm saying? And the moment we put both of them down, they ran around. They're playing tag. They're loving each other. My daughter got upset because the lady got her car before us, so she started trying to cry and all that. And it was like that right there. She never met this girl before. Little white girl. I mean, she was pristine white. Like I'm talking about, like almost albino white. So it wasn't no mixing it up. Like, oh, she was white. And then she had blonde hair and blonde eyebrows. I don't know if that ever bothers you. But too much blonde and shit, it actually bothers me. Because it's like albino, like, oh, I can't stop staring at you. But again, my daughter, 3, this little girl was going on 3. They saw each other, and the first thing in their mind is, you're small, you're little, people are holding you, you ready to run? And that was it. And they ran, they played tag with each other. They were having the best time for like an hour. And
that'd be a super proud parent moment.
Oh no, but see, that's the thing. It's like but that's not even a proud moment. The reason being is because that's kids. Like my son helped me see a lot of things because I had my son at like basically right before I turned 23. Right, that's why I'm only 35 now, and I have a 12-year-old son. It's like, and he really helped mold a lot of the things I did in my life and the way I was thinking, because it's like initially my dad, like I love my dad, like I said, but he came from fucking rural South. Right before the Civil Rights Act, segregation, all this, he had a lot of negative thoughts about white people, right? And a lot of, I tell people all the time, I was like, if you have negative thoughts about a particular person or race, and you don't have anything to back it up, get the fuck out of here. But like I tell Steve, I was like, if I meet a white guy who's like, man, I don't really like black people, and I'm like, why? He's like, because in high school, all these black guys used to jump me, or like, or you can be like, I was fucking going to the club or going somewhere, and I got fucking beat and almost, put in a coma and goddamn, whatever by these black dudes. I was like, fuck yeah, you have a right to be scared of them. You see a bunch of black people fucking walk across the street. I'm gonna walk across the street if I get jumped by a bunch of black guys and that shit. It's like, I spit on you?
No.
Oh, okay. But
had to sneeze.
like I said, that's part of living reality. And kids live in reality all the time. They're like, they don't even think about it unless if I would have stopped my daughter and been like, hey, don't you play with her? You see, she's white. Don't play with the little white girl.
Yeah.
That's the only way. That's the only thing that would stop them. Because kids, it's impossible. Never been born racist. Never been born. Right. They might be bad. You might have a bad kid, but they'll never go and look at them and like my son at a certain when his friends are around, like, oh, you're a girl, like that type of shit. But even that's something that he's taught by his little friends, like, oh, she has cooties, that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? So kids are literally like blank. They're pure. Nothing's wrong with them. It's when they get like my son now. This is where I think I would feel like what I said with that when he was 8. I felt, like you said, I felt good about that moment because I realized I had fucked. Not only did I fuck up, but we had all fucked up, and we fucked up around him. But I knew it was my job to take him to the side and be like, look, man.
Yeah.
Don't listen.
Yeah,
I was like, don't listen to mommy, daddy, and all that. I was like, because one, we're talking shit. We're talking shit about somebody we think we dislike because, whatever. It is what it is. It's like, but at the same time, there's also.
I don't know about you, bro, but I'm hearing a confession right now.
But no.
He said something. He said some shit.
Oh, yeah. We were talking shit. I told you, idiot. He's doesn't have that much money. All this shit. His wife is listen, we were talking shit.
Yeah, I know.
We were talking shit. But it's also funny because I told him, I was like, you also know adults who are white. He's like, yeah, my teacher, such and such. I like Miss whatever. And I was like, and also we have like a good family friend. Their daughter used to play with my little brother. They grew up together, whatever. But
just one?
Huh?
You said just
one.
No,
yeah. I'm gonna tell you, it's just well, because it's she's married to a black man, but the funny thing about it is she's more ingrained in the black culture, and we literally say it's like the bodies got switched because he's the biggest nerd, but I'm talking about like the nerd of the nerd. He's black.
Or excuse me, black guy.
He's a black guy, and she's white, but she grew up in like Oakland or some shit like that.
Oh yeah.
So she was like surrounded by black culture. So when we talk about things, we're talking to the black guy like, "Hey man, you remember this when they used to do it?" He's like, "No." And then she'll come in, "Hell yeah, I remember that. You remember this song they used to play?" And this and that. I was like, "Yeah." So we're gonna. Sorry, guy. You go over there. Come on, sit down, baby. Come on. Yeah. But it's funny because, like I said,
my fiance, man.
Yeah, it was like, you said what?
My fiance, man. She'll like every time like some Eazy-E or Biggie comes on, she'll start rapping the whole fucking song, and I'm like, "You're from fucking Canada. How do you know this shit? Oh yeah, she's as white as it gets, man."
I don't know. No, I'm saying the Canada part, the Canadian. I like saying Canadian. But yeah, man, I was like, the kids. It's really easy. Like people make it look hard. Correction. It is very hard raising a motherfucker. I was like, easy when you have money, so keep money in your pocket. But just keeping them around good people and stuff like that, because after that I started realizing, I was like, hey mom, and again my mom is really like, she's really conscious of that, but it just was like we were feeling a certain way and we were just shit talking too much. And I was like, and I told my mom, I was like, that's how people become racist, right? And she was like, what? I was like, yeah. I was like, okay. I was like, let's put it this way. He's a white guy and he's saying dislike black people and dislike Obama. I was like, now we hear that he's a fucking racist, right? I was like, he's racist, he's the worst person. And, it's like, I didn't say fuck, I don't cuss for my mom. But it was just like, he's a racist. And like, yeah, goddamn, you're right. I was like, I know, that's why I took him in the room and talked to him. I was like, and now I was like, I don't have to worry about that, but I'm looking out for things. You always have to look out for the people that hang out with, the things you're hearing. And then I literally question myself. I sit them down, I'm like, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about girls? And I even mess with them like, hey, your dreams? What you thinking? I was like, yeah. You wake up? Are your underwear okay when you wake up? He's like, huh? What? I was like, okay, you know what I'm talking about. All right, cool. That's like, like I told.
So what she look like?
Yeah. Well, I told his mother, I was like, look, at a certain time he's gonna have to start doing his own laundry, right? And she was like, what? I was like, listen, my dad and other people found out that I needed to start doing my laundry. I say I've been doing my laundry, but they realized they don't need to grab no parts of my clothes. All right, there's some stiff socks and wash towels in there. Okay, just letting you know. All right, I was like, you need to. I'll handle this. I was like, because there's a whole bunch of dead babies in here, whole bunch of dead babies. But I'm getting off topic just to make it funny. But let's say.
It's funny. Though.
I was like, but I'm telling you, like, especially you can fuck up a kid real easily, but you could also lead them real easily too. It's super easy. It's like same thing with like love and all that shit. You know, like I make myself, like I said, the hugs and shit. Like, cause I've met so many men who are like, man, I've said I love you to my dad, or I can't remember last time I got a hug. I was like, shit, we used to do that as like a machismo killer in my dad's house. That's one thing that he was good at. It was like, hey, what, you don't love me? Prove it. Give me a hug. Give me a hug.
Yeah.
It's like a macho thing. Like, I bet you won't hug me. I bet you won't hug me. I bet you won't say you love me in public. You know, like that type of shit.
Didn't happen with my father until I was until I left for Colorado.
See? And how old were you when that happened?
28.
See that? And I'm saying that's an issue. So it's like
27.
It's so many issues that come because, like you said, with social media and even with the race, it's like it's a lot of shit. I'll also add though that my dad's side of the family very old school. Hence, that's why I said they grew up under a little bit more like a racist household because my grandfather. I mean, dude, he broke horses, worked construction. Mm-hmm.
That's literally what they grew up doing. And so, like, for instance, my grandmother. My dad's mom has never touched a computer or a cell phone.
Oh shit! To this day?
To this day, she doesn't have cable internet. She uses bunny ears. So that's what I mean, bro. Like I never saw like when all the times I'd ever been to my grandparents, and now my grandfather's passed now, but. Mm-hmm. All the times I had been there, I never saw my grandfather get himself a plate of food or something to drink out of their fridge.
Oh, woman always
not once. Yeah. Like he would be out working, cutting the grass, doing all the yard work. She would be out doing the flower bed. When he she would come out and be like, "Are you hungry soon?" He'd be like, "Yeah, I'll be in about 10 minutes." And she would have lunch on the table and a glass of tea, and he would sit down and watch the bunny ears television, and that's how it went. So, very, very old school. To that point, but you're right. I mean, in most cases today, most grandparents have adopted a little bit of more current technology.
When you have, I'm gonna tell you one thing. And this goes back to kids. When you guys have kids, you will see a total different side of your parent. I'm hoping. I know C's parents are alive, but I'm hoping your parents are well. I was like, when you have kids, they turn into totally fucking different people that you have never met in your goddamn life and don't know who these people are. Because it's like you told me you already got your dad, but doesn't have grandkids from like your other siblings?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guarantee that probably plays a big factor into it. I was like, but it's amazing because like my mom, she had me probably like 23, 24, and the back hand and front hand of her hand used to reside in this area on my face, both. To this day, she lies to me, the person who was slapped, that she didn't slap me. I was like, how are you going to? She was like, I think you're just remembering things wrong. I was like, no, I'm not. I vividly remember getting slapped in the mouth.
No feeling. Well, she no feeling in the right side of my cheek.
She finally, like a year or two, was like, well, maybe it happened. I don't remember it. I was like, what do you mean? Maybe it happened.
Maybe you deserve.
Yeah, exactly. She was like, maybe you did something.
What you did there.
I was like, yeah. She was like,
I don't like it.
Exactly. But it's funny because she's like, I mean, sweet tea. I mean, God, the perfect. I mean, she wasn't a bad mother or nothing like that. But it was like, you definitely had more of a temper. Like, I remember I popped my son, and she popped me in the back of the head. I was like, whoa. First of all, you can't do this, okay? Because he's going to, oh, we lost you. Oh, you're back.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Okay. I was like, he can't see this because he's going to want to pop me for that. And second of all, first of all, you would have been popped his ass back in the day. Well, this ain't back in the day. I've learned my ways. Like, fuck out of here. But that's what I'm saying. But it's weird because it's like whatever they messed up with you, they can now spoil your kids with, the grandkids. And
absolutely.
I'm noticing that because it's like even with my son, oh man, I feel so bad for him. We used to spank his little butt. So much spanking. He got spanked so much between the age of like 3 and 6. So many spankings.
Your son?
Oh yeah. because we used to tag teams as. I was like, man, I grew up in a single parent house. So
That sounds awful.
I was like, I had both parents,
Left
but they,
cheek, right cheek.
yeah,
left
basically.
cheek, right
I was
cheek.
like, because I had both parents.
You're like, you want some? Come on, get some. Come on in.
Basically, it was like with a tag team because it was like I had both parents growing up, but they didn't live together. They weren't together, so I would see them at different times. You know, like summertime, whatever. So, but I grew up in a single parent households, so it was like. I was always like, God damn, especially with my dad. I was like, can there be a woman in here and come and save my ass? Because there's a lot of ass whoopings happening right now, okay? And then, but with my son, he was getting like I would spank him, and I'm like, I can't spank him again. She'd be like, I got it. And then she would go and spank him. I'm like, oh, shit, I think we need to calm down to this. This might border abuse a little bit because he is getting his ass towed up. I think he's not learning the lesson. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Something might be wrong with the boy, but man, he's getting his ass tore up today. So I'm telling you, it came to the part. I was like, I'm glad I only had one parent. I was like, because I couldn't imagine 2 ass whoopings in a couple of days, in a day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
Well,
but
that's
it also
that,
helps.
yeah, it's funny because my niece, you talking about like how to just being cautious about the things you talk about. So like my sister had her daughter, which is my niece Hope, and like my parents the other day were just making comments and just kind of speaking a little bit more, I would say, a little bit more ill of the father and the stepmom of my niece, right?
You can't do it, man. Oh.
And they were doing it in front of her. And I was like, and then I started to hear Hope go to them and tell them like, oh yeah, Jeff and Ashley this and Jeff and Ashley that. And I could see the trend of her starting to appreciate the attention she would get from having
a little bit of information.
And I'm like, Mom, this isn't good. You're teaching her like, and I pulled my parents aside and was like, hey, because I don't see it every day, right? They're now, to my parents' defense, like they're the only reason, if I'm being straight, that my niece is going to have a chance in life, right?
Yeah.
Like they're helping the father, big time. Yeah. The father, my sister's kind of like out of the, she's completely out of the picture right now. Just for some bad life decisions, but the father and the stepmom are also not really making very good decisions either. Looking at joining like motorcycle gangs and shit like that.
God damn.
Right?
I didn't even know they were still around.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
It's fucking stupid. And so, I talk to her and I'm like, well, look, like, I always try to make sure I'm giving good advice to my niece. But I heard my parents definitely like constantly like roasting the stepmom and the dad. And I'm like, hey, you guys, if you want to talk about that yourselves, that's fine. But you guys can't be saying that shit in front of her because that is.
You gotta let them figure that shit out too, because they'll dislike you. Because I don't know how much interaction is happening, but whatever interaction she does have with the dad and the stepmom, they're gonna say, oh, even if they're fucking once a year or some shit like that. That kid will be, especially as a young child, will be elated. I mean, oh my God, I love him so much. They'll tell you they could have went down the street to the goddamn store and walked there because there's no car, there's no food in the house. Like, we went to the liquor store and we got, 7-Eleven, we got candy and we got this, and this, and they'll talk about the best thing in the life, and you'll hear, you're like, why'd you walk? Isn't that like 8-10 blocks? Like, oh, well, the car wasn't working. But that's not the point. We also stayed up to like 3 a.m. I'm like, what the fuck? Why are you staying? You know what I'm saying? But all the things that you'll hear that you can see are negative, they will not. And it'll literally take until like teenage years for them to see. And I've heard from some of my family members who had the situation where they were a single mother and the deadbeat dad or whatever. And it's probably one of the hardest things in the world is to not talk poorly of the father, especially during hard times, because the child will resent you up until the time they figure it out. And they might be they might resent you all the way up until 19. So you're talking, they might resent you from goddamn 5 to 19 until they figure it out. I was like, you don't want that 14 years of torture of like, why don't you see what I'm saying? He's a horrible person, because they're not going to see that. They always want their parents, especially dads, they want their dad is always going to be a hero. Like my son, like I say, he's too cool right now, but I used to be the hero, best friend, all that. Still, it's working. It's tooling down, but he's, like I said, too cool for school right now. It just happens. I know what happens with teenage boys. It happened to me. And my daughter, I'm her best thing since sliced bread. Like when I come in the house, I gotta prepare myself for a hug and all this. It's actually awesome. I'll be honest with you. Like your dog, like just imagine your dog, but in a cuter form.
I get it.
Yeah. It's like, but I'm saying all that because it's like you can't badmouth the parents. It's like when you badmouth the parents, God, it always backfires on you. Cause they'll be like, they'll grow up and be a teenager. Like you just hate on them. You always hate on them. Oh my God, and like, but no, like he for real left you in a car in the middle of Kmart for like 7 hours. I don't remember that. You know what I'm saying? It's like therapy for him to remember that shit.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like depends on the age of the parents because over time, if it's like when the because it happened to me as a kid. My parents were divorced when I was really young, and over time, as like they both get over it, then it kind of starts to fade.
Yeah, they stop talking
time.
shit. Yep.
But I mean, I remember as a kid, like, from my dad's point of view, to me, my mom was the bad guy because she left. She just one day left. It's like, why'd she leave? She just left. And what?
Yeah.
Come to find out when I was 16 or 18, and my mom never told me. And my grandma was like, your dad was fucking a neighbor, right? That's why your mom left.
Yeah.
What?
Like, what? Listen,
He
man.
never told me any of that, and I'm thinking like, mom's a bad guy. She left us.
You heard his
mom's
side.
a bad guy. She left us, and my mom, don't get me wrong, she would hog on my dad, like saying bad stuff about him. But she would never drop that one detail that she knew would change my perspective forever,
yeah.
or like in that moment.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious because my dad never even tried to talk to me about this until my dad and I, as you both know, we didn't talk for a while, years,
right.
like 6 years. And when we
came back,
I reached back out, came together. He my dad sucks. I don't say sucks at emotion, but he's
not good at it.
He's not good at
my dad's saying
talking about anything. He sucks at talking about his shortcomings. He's just kind of like, well. I think most people do, but he just couldn't embrace this one part.
Well, that's a long time. What, 20-something
right?
years
But
now?
the way this is the first time now. I'm a man, 30, and he's like, you know what? Happened. So I was like, oh, you mean with the thing? Yeah.
Hey,
yeah, exactly.
Not to interject.
But my friend, I was talking to my homeboy last night, and he was telling me how this chick that he was messing with, like. Because of quarantine, he's been forced to like mess with this one chick, which is hilarious. I was like, "Damn, he's right." I was like, "You really don't have a lot of options unless you're out there risking it." And it's like, but he was telling me, like they had like, I guess he's kind of a religious guy, and they were slightly different in religious, views or whatever.
Right.
Actually, I think kind of pretty predominantly like. It was a big difference, and I was like, "Oh, well, that's not gonna work out for you." Like I used to defend all the girls who talk to. I'm like, "Oh man, you're just being picky," because I'm not religious. I'm not really religious at all.
Right.
But I was like, I realized this is a big thing for him. And the longer I know, I was like, "Oh man," I was like, you ain't gonna look, man. You just need to try to get your dick wet during quarantine. I get it, and you want some healthy vagina. I get it. Nobody wants a corona, especially corona pussy. I don't even think that good as his way. You know what I mean? I think some dry pussy. It sounds like dry pussy. But he was also talking that he was saying that her friends were like, I guess mostly conservative. I was like,
yeah.
Well, are they black? He was like, yeah. I was like, oh shit, you got some black conservatives over there? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, and he was saying that her, like, she hasn't said it. He was like, but he's like, yeah, she's pretty conservative. But like she won't cop to it, he says. But I was like, damn. I was like, because me and my wife, we've been together for so long. We deal with each other's bullshit. We know, my wife let me run my mouth half the time. But I was like, what would that be like? Like, could I do that? Like, if somebody was like, because like, I told him, I was like, man, I wouldn't have a problem with different religion or different politics. And I was like, but at the same time, I never actually personally dealt with it.
Right.
So it's like I'm talking about something. It's like, yeah, man, I don't have a problem skydiving until I'm actually in the fucking sky, like, oh shit, pissing and shitting on myself or something like that. I was like, was that ever an issue or y'all dated anybody like that? Did like even with your significant others? You're married?
about to be.
Okay, cool.
November 6th.
That's why I was like, that's one day I was like, hold on, I just want to say wife out here in these streets, you know, to your wife here, and be like, hold on, what? And it's like, but it's like,
I wish.
was that exactly?
I wish.
It's like, I was like, damn, how big of an issue is that like nowadays? Because I've seen some situations where like this black chick was dating this white dude, and before Trump got into office, she was like, they were perfect. And then she took a video of this motherfucker, and he was going off. Like, he was racist as shit. He was talking
white people?
Yeah, well, it was a white guy. It was a black girl and a white guy.
Oh, okay.
And she said before Trump got in office, like the 2 years they do for campaigning, she was like, he was extra cool. He had voted for Obama and all this. And she was like, but something happened. And she was like, the last year of our relationship, she just saw like a decline. Now, she could have been ramping it up the other way, too. But the video she took, it was like, whoo, brother, if you got a job.
You stop putting pussy out, all of a sudden you get real fucking
Oh, yeah,
pissed.
look, man, he was hyped. And this is back in, like, 2017. And he was like, fucking niggas, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, black people are lazy. She was like, bitch, I have a job. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? You live with a black person. And then he started going in on her. And like she was mad about her family, and I mean, just kind of like full racist. And because the comments were like, "Bitch, you didn't see this? Like you didn't see the likelihood of this happening?" And she was like, "No, I swear to God, he was not this way. Like the politics came in, the whole Trump thing came in. She was like, it really fucked up everybody's mind. She was like, his family used to be really conservative, but he was never with him, and now all of a sudden he's with him. And like I said, I don't know what she did because you just saw that video, but in her explanation, it was like all this crazy stuff. And I was like, fuck, that is kind of weird. I was like, what would you do if that happened? Like, what if your wife was like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think that's, to that point, that's how you're influenced by the people you're around. Like,
yeah,
same thing with you when you're around all your friends, you're talking about race and you get all hyped up. You're like, blah, blah, blah. And the same thing happens with white people. Like, one thing happens and you're like, yeah. And then you start sweating. You're like, there's 4 white guys here. We should stop having a little clan rally. It's not really how we feel. We're just angry in the moment. So we want to blame everything. And we all do that with everything in life, not even just race. You do, you do it with your wife. You know, you're mad.
That's what I'm saying. Religion too,
because
I
hate that woman. And you're
she
like,
was fucking.
No, I don't. I was just being a little
Yeah.
wuss at that time moment, having a weak moment. You know what I mean? Everybody has a weak moment, so maybe he was just having a weak moment, and he.
It was a strong weak moment. I'll tell you that, because that motherfucker was going off.
That's a weird thing if you're.
Yeah, it's like
if that's
like it wasn't like he was talking to his friends. He was talking shit to her.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He was having an honest moment that he was having with a friend that he was doing with a girl who's black. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's one of those things where you couldn't be like a truism with your wife. Like,
what did they say? Like, learn the room. Like, bro, you gotta learn the room.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't. She's black, bro. You can't say that shit.
Yeah, it was like he was. I mean, it was just crazy. I was like, because even I'm like, oh, baby, you ignored a lot.
Like if it was a white chick and that's his wife or whatever they're dating, she's gonna be like, you know what I mean? But like when you're color and you're saying stuff like that, it's like, dude, you can't.
Like brother, like if you want to have this conversation, go.
Well, it's the same thing I told you about that other chick, the couple, and the dude was white and the chick was black, and she's like telling her kids like, they had kids, crazy. And she's like, the white man oppressed you, and she's like, you're telling him daddy oppresses him.
Exactly.
Like, what do you mean? You can't tell him that.
That's the crazy part.
I was like, yeah, that's like.
What do you do? I was like, because it's like,
you know what I think it
you
is.
You automatically want to get away from it.
This is where I think Trump is bad for America. Unfortunately, it's not. I don't. It's not 100% Trump's fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's the liberal media.
There it goes. There you go.
But, prime example. He just got over COVID, right?
I don't think he got over COVID, or he really didn't have it.
You know, you guys don't have to like be afraid of COVID. They're like, Trump just told all America COVID's not a big deal. Everybody's just going to go take the mask off, and they're just going to go back to life normal because Trump said COVID's not a big deal. It's like, dude, do you not want a leader to say something positive? Like, do we not want to live by every little thing's gonna be all right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you need to. You need to go smoke a blunt with Bob.
Well,
'cause,
he's
you know,
also different. I was like, he's the fucking president. They're gonna give him the best of the fucking best. Like that.
no matter what.
No, I would say, yeah, no matter what. So that's, if anything, I was like, yeah, I can see him coming home because one, I was like, he has. Initially, he was like negative, like, nah, this ain't a real thing. Then he says real thing. Then he was like, all right, well, the states need to deal with it, this, that, and the third. Then, try to put the mandates out and whatnot. But I was like, it also plays back to history. Like, he can't look too weak. Like, he can't be fucking crippled up in the hospital for like a week or two, because then there's people like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, but then he can't. That's like, then he can't. I know he came home too early.
Either way, no matter what he does,
Yeah,
it's
he's
bad.
gonna get screwed because it was like, because then he came home too early because it's like, hold on, you said 10 days, motherfucker. Was it 14?
Well, no, because
But then again, he's the president, so whatever he had in the hospital, he'd have in the fucking white. Like, he could have a secret goddamn.
but that
room.
doesn't if you in like okay, so you talk Ben Shapiro and how like I listened to his latest one today, this morning, like
All right,
you know,
listen to him. Go ahead.
and he's the guy who's the conservative guy that I told you. I was like, people are like, oh, I'm like, no.
I
And I told
nerdy
you,
one.
you can always smell out the bad ones because if he does no wrong, he's a bad one. Like
Exactly.
that's a Klan rally waiting to happen. He's just not saying it behind closed doors. But and the point I'm trying to say though is like the whole episode, he's just making fun of Trump. The whole episode,
Really?
and like he's like, I know I'm making fans mad right now, but I don't care. And he's like, you can't, like, this is stupid. Like, and he rips on Trump, which is why I'm like, people are like, he's such a like ultra conservative and like neo-Nazi. I'm like,
Nah.
you don't listen to him, do you?
I would say he's definitely.
You just listen to his highlight reels where
But even in his highlight reels, it's not. It's not.
I mean, like
super, yeah.
highlight reels of like, you know how it is. You got your pro highlight reels and your
No, that's
negative
what I'm
highlight
saying.
reels.
Yeah.
You know what
But
I mean?
I'm saying even in the negative one. Well, again, I see kind of see through bullshit where it's like, that's why I say he's not. He's literally like the nerdy version of like a conservative, in my opinion, because it's like, one, his voice. Do not.
Yeah.
Listen.
This is Ben Shapiro.
No matter what he's talking about,
I
you're
can't
like,
believe-
who the fuck is this nerd talking?
I can't believe
You know
this is
what I'm
ridiculous. This is so ridiculous.
saying?
I mean,
Exactly.
how could you think that going home? It's just, I don't understand it. I mean, it's just.
Like, it seems like no matter what the debate is, you're like, shut up, pussy. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go talk to this camera right quick. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's like, look, you need to get your butt whooped. But the same time, it's like, okay, if you had COVID, the second you're good to go, they're like, all right, get out of here.
Oh yeah.
Put your mask on, leave.
Oh,
I mean, it's not like you stay in quarantine. You don't quarantine in the
No,
hospital.
not in the hospital. He's
So it's
quarantined
like,
at home.
hey, Trump, you good to go home? He's like, I'm good to go home. All right, get out of here. And they're all acting like, I can't believe
Well, he
he
took
come
some-
back to the White
well, he
House
took
and
pictures
put
with him.
people in danger. And it's like,
Well, I
you
think-
want to go home?
I will tell you, it's a negative for him because he's got too many.
I guarantee you
people
they got a hospital in there.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying it's a negative for him because he's got too many people who fucking test positive for corona in his administration. So and I get it. I was like, you could be like, well, it's just
Yeah, but when you're that close to that many people, it's going to spread quick.
no. Well, first of all, I wouldn't be.
Did you guys hear why the theory as to why that entire cabinet or that entire group of people got COVID?
No, what's the,
Joe
what's the-
Biden.
No. The theory was that potentially it was like somebody is not essentially infected him, but some type of way got him to get COVID in that group because he was connected with the gal who's taking over the Supreme Court seat.
She has it.
What's that?
I said I didn't know she had it.
No, so she doesn't.
Oh.
Because she got it earlier this summer, but nobody knew that.
Oh.
Right. And nobody knew that she. But if she would have gotten it, it would have suspended her getting that seat. So that's why they had claimed that. That's why they felt. Or some people claimed that they felt that maybe he got COVID and that entire group got COVID was to make sure it spread to her, so that she got it and it would delay her inductment into her getting
Yeah,
moved
they're
in.
trying to play on it.
I said
play
that's
on it.
definitely a conspiracy theory, but you never know with these things, man. You never know. No,
That's always been my take on politics as a whole and that's why I can't sit here and say Trump's a bad president. I can't say he's a great president. I can see what I see that he does get done, And given, probably more than any other president we've ever had, that guy has had to jump more hurdles in fact of witch hunts than anybody else. Obama obviously had the prove
Second
your
most. He was first.
Yeah.
He was first.
no
And then
doubt,
Trump came
no
in.
doubt. Obama definitely had the whole witch hunt of show me your birth certificate.
Well,
right?
matter of fact, he the motherfucker who's president now was the reason why the last one had so much shit.
but my point is, it was as soon as the Russiagate shit ended, it was something else, and it was just one thing after another that he had to constantly defend himself on. Which I've heard Democrats come out and say, or the Democratic Party come out and say that is an actual strategy, is to bury somebody with so many things that they're forced to spend their time defending themselves instead of actually doing and pushing their own agenda. So, with that being the case, I don't know. Regardless if Trump's done good, bad, indifferent, whatever your thought is, same with Obama. While I personally wasn't an Obama fan, I also can't sit here and actively say that I understand everything that Obama was up against, because I didn't. How much of that shit was closed doors that he had actually gotten done that could have been phenomenal for the country, right? The same thing goes for Trump. So that's where I can't sit here and actively say, and truthfully, and I wholeheartedly mean this, I don't think any person could be president today and not be scrutinized for something.
Oh, no.
But see, it's worse for him because he was, he was a reality star. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that really right there is always going to throw him in the mix. And plus, look, man, people got to forget Trump was a rich asshole. That was his brand. He has been a rich asshole for 30, 40 years now. So he did rich asshole shit, and he has a whole history of rich asshole shit. So where it's like, if you want to pull out the bat, there's probably a tape of it. There's some proof that he was an asshole. It's like, because I know back in 1985, when he was probably doing blow off of hookers, he wasn't like, I'm gonna be president in 2017. It was like, no. He was like, man, I'm about to fuck this hooker with this coke dick right now, boy. It's like, and I'm gonna get her this quick little 10, and she's gonna get the fuck up out of here before Ivanka get home.
Well, and that's
Is it Ivanka?
She won around in.
And that's where the divide comes in, right? Because then you look at the whole grab him by the pussy thing, right? Everybody flipped the fuck out, and I'm like, all right. If everybody that's freaking out about him making that statement, however many years prior that that he made that, we've all said some shit, right?
Listen. I say all of them have mistresses. I believe most of Congress and all that and senators, they have mistresses, and that's also where I come in an abortion statement, because it's like you have some of these conservative guys like abortion's bad until my mistress gets pregnant, then I gotta get rid of that shit. Well, I ain't about to lose half.
That's always like one of those funny things that it's like a kind of like a counterpoint to like the BS, like. If a Republican gets office, and you always hear this, they're gonna put you back in chains. It's always the liberal talking point.
They're
like,
gonna take women's rights away, all that.
Yeah, like, bro, you realize Republicans passed Roe v. Wade. Like, the Supreme Court was like what, 7-2 or 6-3, whatever it was.
Yeah, something like that.
It was like they were like,
yeah, the conservatives fought to abolish slavery in the past. That is a real thing.
But they also own slaves. Go ahead.
Everybody did. That's something.
Listen, Steve will tell you. There's some subjects where I go. They'll be like, "Oh, Republicans did this and the Democrats did that," and I'm like, "Man, fuck both of you. All right, you both were pieces of shit back then." It was like, and you want me to forget? I'm like, no, I'm gonna say fuck you both. Now, which one of y'all got my best interest at heart, or which one of y'all got a couple things I like? Now, it's usually how it goes.
Right.
It was
Agreed.
it was like, they were like, they free slaves. I was like, but what? Wait, huh? Weren't they still slaves?
What happened after that?
We're like, yeah, what happened after that? Did they free? Oh no, you let the segregation and Jim Crow thing happen? Okay, yeah, I appreciate the freedom, and then give us absolutely nothing, and then we had to. So you were talking about boot shops? You didn't have no goddamn shoes. It's like, that's a fucked up thing to tell somebody, hey man, you need to pull yourself a boot shop, work hard. Like, bitch, I was just working hard for free. Like, you didn't pay me. It's like, hey, you took the boots that you did give me when they said I was free. Now I'm out here damn naked.
Well, yeah, and I think, to that, it's all of that, man. And that's where, like I said, my whole point has been, I really don't know on a day-to-day what challenges the president's are faced with, because
it's a shit.
There's so much top secret shit going on. I mean, look at all the movies that are constantly being released
about it. Yeah, exactly.
About like Afghanistan, like all these secret missions that were being deployed in Afghanistan. There's just another one that was released on Netflix. But the movie 12 Strong with Chris Hemsworth, that was just released, about a secret group that nobody knew anything about. Look at the Benghazi situation that was released right a while back. Like that, all this shit was happening. Who was managing it, right? I mean, and these are decisions that were being made every day. And there's a lot of shit that probably happens that we don't even know about. But that's where the media does, and that's what I really like about. I will say I do really like about that Kayleigh McEnany chick, that's the Secretary of Press, because she is holding reporters accountable now. And I like
his new press secretary,
the
right?
chick.
Yeah, the new one. Yeah, because she's going.
It used to be Sean Spicer. They used to give him the business. And the lazy eye chick, what's her name's daughter?
Oh yeah,
they used to give them the business, man.
Yeah,
but this girl's prepared, and that's why she doesn't get what everybody else got, because you see her every time they ask her a subject, she's like flipping through fucking tabs to find the right.
She's like, oh, I knew you were gonna say that, motherfucker. Here you go.
Yep.
I was like, no, she's the best one he's had, because I don't see anything about her like in the normal news or whatever. Like they're like, usually they're like, oh, Sean Spicer said this dumb thing. What's the fucking name? The chick who was right before her.
I don't know, but I know her face.
They're roasting her about being ugly. Remember?
Yeah, that's what I said. The lazy eye.
Oh yeah, the lazy eye, exactly. Yeah.
It was like, it might not be right, but look, she had a lazy eye.
Well, and what's weird is like usually that position is
that's
not
a shit position.
Well, it's usually not a. In recent time, it's been.
Yeah.
You're just president's doing this.
Exactly.
A couple talking points. That's the news.
Answer a couple
thanks
questions,
for watching.
and you say no comment.
Now that person has to be like a lawyer. It's like, well, actually,
I don't know what
Fifth Amendment, and they're like flipping through. It's like, remember the time you said that? What about that? What about this? You know what I mean? And like, it's weird because what sucks is when you watch those press conferences, and it's this thing with it happens on both sides. They take this little snip and like, see what they said? It's like you took that way out of context, and she calls them on taking things out of context because it's like that's the thing that now that's a highlight reel, and that's.
But she does it so concise. I got to give her credit because she is like a goddamn surgeon with this shit. Like, oh, you said this? Well, you also said, hold on. 2018, you said this, and this. So do you still believe this? Well, you're asking me if I believe this? No, all right, bitch, I got you. Just a checklist and shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
and then she has it on individual people I've seen when she was like, oh, I remember you, motherfucker.
Sean, you said this.
Yeah, hold on.
Karen,
hold on. I can see you in a second. I'm fucking him up right now. You next. I was like, oh, damn.
Too, man, you're right. Like what was the last thing I saw not that long, or I saw it not that long ago, was when she got up there and she like played like a PowerPoint presentation or a clip of all of the questions that people didn't ask on events that had happened that week. Like she predicted the media. She's
gonna be in politics for a minute.
Well, I mean,
but he said, and they came out and they're like, well, they asked all these questions, trying to essentially back the Trump administration into a corner, right? I mean, that's really all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it's ever been for however fucking long now, since he's been in office. But she gets up there and she's just like, these aren't the droids you're looking for.
Yeah, basically, I was like, I'm gonna tell you right now, she's kicking ass. I don't care what side she was on.
Great job. And then she what was it? The last thing she did that I really enjoyed was she asked, she goes, so here's the questions that weren't asked. And then she listed them. And then she goes, so I'm going to ask you guys, report, do your job, and find me some answers on this. And I hope that we can actually have some answers on this on our next press conference. Because you guys are reporters and you should be reporting the news properly. And I'm like, God damn, like she just like takes fucking control. And to your point, like she's like very concise. Yeah, we're all tired of it.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I mean, it is getting old, but I'm saying she doesn't seem that old. I don't know how old she is, but she's like what? Probably it looks like she's like early 30s.
Yeah, I think she's our age. I don't know.
She's 30. She's 31.
She is.
You would.
Could you imagine kicking ass like that in the White House at 30, 29, some shit like that? I'd be like, fuck you too.
Yeah.
Well, I think she was a news anchor or something.
Was
right?
it?
I thought.
I don't know.
I
I
thought she
just
worked
know.
for.
All I know is I started seeing the Daily Show. I started seeing them like respect what she was saying. Like even they were like, "Oh shit, she said that."
We don't want to make her mad.
Yeah, yeah. It was like, "Ooh, this motherfucker's on the game." I was like, "Where the
Yeah.
fuck have you been?" I was like, "Trump needed you 3 years ago." he would have probably saved so much time and stress. I was like, because you had fucking Kellyanne up there being retarded with, she had the little that one eye that wouldn't open all the way. It's like
Pirate eye.
Oh, now her
Pirate.
daughter. Have you seen her daughter?
Uh-uh.
Oh man, her daughter is getting her fucked up on social media. So the other day,
It's not the lady who's like she's like Native American.
no. This is Kellyanne, and she's blonde. She was skinny. She was a little bit older, like I'd say probably 40s, something like that. But her daughter, she stepped out of the light because her daughter was putting her on blast. Like, yeah, my mom doesn't care anything about me, and only my mom and my daddy talk crazy to me. Blah, blah. And she put a whole thing out, and people were shitting on Kellyanne, and she literally was like, "I got to step back and look at my family, and and do some whatever they say when they they step down." But her daughter just put something out last night where Kellyanne was like, she was nicely cussing her out, but she didn't know her daughter was recording. Yeah, her.
Yeah, I remember the daughter thing being a big deal.
Man. Well, it hasn't gone anywhere because she just last night was posting some shit like. Her mom was like, you're really making us look bad. You're making the family look bad. And this is some shit, blah blah. And then the daughter was like, looked like she was pretending like she was talking on her phone or looking at her phone, and then turned
She's
to
recording
see her mom. And the mom realized, she was like, "What? Put that phone down." I was like, "God damn, that's your own flesh and blood that you are fucking supporting. That bitch wants you go down like shit." I couldn't imagine that. Somebody be off to military school. I tell you real quick. Like, ask some other kids who get sent away to boarding school, you little motherfucker. You want to play around? I don't give a fuck what party you are. Like, listen, keep fucking with me, all right?
I'm gonna come at you.
Like, I can fucking commit you, right? Like, you ain't got no say in this world.
Hey, I barely remember that lady.
Really?
Yeah.
She was up there for about, I think, a year, maybe.
Wasn't she a moderator for the Hillary and Trump?
No, that was the other.
Kelly.
Yeah,
Different.
No, that was a chick from Fox News, right? Yeah. Now she could talk. That chick from Fox News can actually kind of hold her own. Was it Kelly Ingram or some shit like that?
No, Kelly.
Laura Ingram.
Yeah,
sorry.
no, Laura Ingram's still there. I'm talking about the one that left. The
Did
one
she
that
go to CBS
the one that
or some shit?
Trump went hard on during the debates because she was just. It was obvious what was happening was this. You had a pro. I don't want to call her a feminist, but the pro. Like that real professional mentality woman, and she's like going like, and she just hates. She doesn't even hate Trump. She just hates what Trump represents, like a misogynistic male who's being a dick, and she's just trying to go at him. It's like you work for Fox News, right? Like you're supposed to be helping him, and she's like, no, I don't like you because you're a white male and you're mean, and you said the whole grab my pussy thing. And I don't like you, and it's like Trump's like, okay. So you don't like me? The first time I heard that, and he just starts like,
oh no, that's when she came out and she said, "You've been accused of calling women pigs and fat pigs and this, that, and the other."
That's only Rosie O'Donnell.
And that's when he's like, "Only Rosie O'Donnell."
and the crowd lost it.
Oh, that's pretty funny. Listen, man, like they said, the boy is not funny, all right, man. He is pretty funny.
'Cause you be in jail.
Sometimes. Yeah. But I'm gonna tell you right now, it's one guy. Who is it? Cruz.
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz.
Listen. Ted Cruz still got to see Donald Trump out in the street for at least 5 minutes, hand in hand. All right.
He's talking about his wife.
He talked about his kids, his wife, his daddy, and him. He accused his daddy of being part of the goddamn John F. Kennedy assassination.
You know what's funny, man? I actually brought this up during the last, just during this past debate because I think. And it worked because and to an extent, the Democratic plan was to attack Trump because anytime anybody attacks Trump, he goes full defense, right?
Oh yeah,
and
he loses his whole thought pattern.
So,
yep.
Ted Cruz originally pulled up pictures or made comments, not pictures, but made comments about how Trump's wife used to be in Playboy or porn or something along those. It was Playboy, right?
Like some half naked videos
hold
of her.
So I think it was funny because Trump never attacked Ted Cruz's family at first, right?
Uh-huh.
He didn't say anything, and then Ted Cruz made a comment about, yeah, well, your wife was in Playboy, or she did some type of half naked bullshit.
Yeah, it was like a Vanity Fair thing.
What?
Yeah, and Vanity Fair thing, and that's when Trump was like, "Oh, really? You want to talk about my wife? Let's talk about your wife." And just, I mean, to your point, man, I was like, God damn, like, roasted that motherfucker, like, on national television.
We start calling him Lying Ted or some shit like that.
he said a lot, but I mean,
even then, I'm like,
Ted,
uh-huh.
Yeah, I was gonna say even Ted Cruz now has gotten behind him, like supports him.
He has no choice.
Yeah.
He had no choice. That's like with Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney was shit talking Trump right before he got elected, and then right after they were seeing like having a steak dinner, and Mitt Romney was like, "Well, I'm for this guy." I was like, "You ain't got no choice now, motherfucker."
Well, I think it's also one of those things. It's like you're just playing politics.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like the Hillary and Trump. Like, right after that, they were like, "You want to go get some food?"
What's funny funny about that is like all these Republicans and Democrats, and we see them on TV being talking heads, and you're wrong, you're a racist, blah blah. These motherfuckers literally go and have lunch together and laugh about that shit. Like they, it's like, so that's where you get into like the politics is just a big scam.
Yeah,
it's like it's all literally like, hey. What are your people saying over there?
Well,
I'm gonna play off it. Oh shit, they say that. Okay, I got you. I'm gonna say this.
You know who really looked bad doing that? What? Kamala Harris. Because she's like, you a racist. You racist to Joe Biden. And then when, like, the funny thing is,
when they got her,
they were not, like, she did an interview and they're like, she's not expecting the question. And it's like, they're like, why'd you call him racist? She's like, it was a debate. They're like, no, that doesn't explain anything. Like, why would you say that? She's like, it was a debate. I mean, that's just what you do when you debate. You call people racist. I mean, you say a bunch of stuff, you don't mean it. It's like,
see, that's where I'm like.
So it is a dog and pony show where you just say whatever you want.
Oh, no, it is.
You know what I mean?
100%. That's like, and like I said, and they don't have maybe it's a little bit more of a divide, but I know in the past, it was just like, oh, you really mean that shit. Oh, you know I ain't mean that shit. Or they going like, hey, what you gonna say?
Yeah.
I'm gonna fuck with you today. Let's get on Fox. Let's get on CNN. Let's get on, you know what I'm saying? That's why you saw so many like Republicans and Democrats having all these heated debates. Like in reality, them motherfuckers literally go downstairs, have lunch, or they go out of their way to have lunch, vacation with each other, hang out with each other, have some beers. I'm like, nah, man. I was like, get the fuck out of here. You want me to get riled up. You want me to have actual dislike and hate in my heart for this motherfucker, but you're over here goddamn chumming it up with him.
That's how that, like, political, like, all that bad stuff. Like, once you get past a certain point, they don't put you in jail.
Nah.
You know what I mean? That's like, they'll pull some, like, random jabroni white guy, like some Republican mayor. They'll put him in jail, or some Republican governor of no-name state. I watched a documentary, actually, I think it was on Netflix, about this perfectly normal dude, but he took some money from somebody he wasn't supposed to. That dude's in jail right now. I maybe actually just got out, because that's why they made a documentary. 20 years or something they did. And it's like, you threw one to make it seem like we do this everywhere. This is the standard. Like, nobody even knows his name. You know what I mean? Like,
he was from a podunk town. Nobody cared. It was like, he took a little bit of money. He did exactly what you would do while you're in D.C.
No, he's doing exactly what you're doing now.
Oh, yeah.
And you're doing 10 times worse. Like, you ever see, if you talk about the Afghanistan war, you ever see the movie Vice? Like, in the Halliburton scandal? And what...
Oh, God.
With, what's his name?
Christian Bale.
Oh, was it Christian Bale?
And, yeah, he played Dick Cheney. And, like, all the stuff, like...
That's a scary dude right
true.
there.
We all heard about it as true. And, like, hey, he's doing all this stuff and getting checks, and they're like, whoa.
We don't see it. What are you talking about? Listen.
And then it just kind of like the Hillary email thing. They're like, yeah, that was totally illegal, but we'll put it on trial, pretend and be like, we'll put it out there, and then we'll be like, you know what?
Because it's like, because what you don't realize is like when they're harassing her or talking to her, it's like, oh, this isn't actually a court. You guys aren't actually going to put her in jail.
No, it's like it's Judge Judy.
Yeah, it's like, oh, she's not actually. Oh, you guys are just bullshitting. I got you. Because it's like,
right.
Because it's funny. Look, I'm still worried about Trump. Maybe I should be worried. I mean, not Trump, Cheney. Because he's the only motherfucker I've ever seen shoot somebody in the face and they apologize. Do you know how goddamn cold and powerful you got to be to shoot a motherfucker in the face and they apologize?
Yeah.
Just so it doesn't make him look more evil. Even though he's eating
Yeah.
like 20-year-old hearts to stay alive.
Yeah,
He's had
right.
2 hearts.
Have you seen the movie?
Transplants. No, but I bet it's like
The narrator in the movies is the guy who has his heart now that got like hit by a car. Like it's not actually him. But
Oh,
they like the actor is playing that guy as if it's like
it's him.
I'm Dick Cheney's heart, and I don't have one. And it's like the end of the movie because like he's a cold dude, no heart, you know.
Shit, he's got 2 of them though. He had 2 of them. One failed. He was like, that heart's like, oh, it's too much evil. I can't do it. I can't do it. He's like, give me another one.
Yeah, he eats terrible.
Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Sacrifice, motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean, to it all, man. Like, I don't know. I watched the first round of debates, and I was like,
That was a shit show.
what? Like, you know, dude. Did you guys see the pictures of the head of BLM and the head of like Proud Boys in like Chicago? They took like a picture together. Like, yeah,
I don't think it was the head. I think it was just somebody who was like part of BLM.
Oh,
It's like, but yeah, it's because see, the Proud Boys. It's funny. Me and Steve were talking about this. The Proud Boys actually are like
Trying to reinvent themselves.
Yeah, they're trying to reinvent themselves because a few years ago, this was not what they were about. They were about chaos. They were like trying to be the Antifa guys.
Well, it wasn't supposed to
opposite.
start that way because that's why all these like people and then when they became bad, like Joe Rogan even got pushed back. Like, why'd you take a picture with that guy? And he's like,
no, he did a whole podcast with
right, I know, but
Yeah.
they're like, why'd you do that? And they're like, well, at that time, that's not what it was about. And
Didn't
like,
they try to strike on him? They're trying to strike on him now, right?
yeah, I didn't read any of that, but I'm curious to see what it's about. But they're basically just going after
Calvin
Joe Rogan.
McGinnis, right? That used to be the creator. He was the creator of it.
Yeah,
I think him and another guy, but he was the face of it.
yeah, but
Yeah. Now the Proud Boys got this Mexican dude, the swole up Mexican dude.
then
It's funny.
it turned into Lil Chihuahua. It turned into this like basically KKK thing, and then now they're trying to do this rebrand, and I think that's why Trump didn't want to be like, screw those guys. Like he was just gonna be like that's why he did this like stand down, stand by, because it's like, and to this point,
it was bad. It was bad
to this point
say
though,
that.
there's highlight reel after highlight reel after highlight reel. Like you could make a 5-minute compilation of him just being like, screw racism. Nope, not that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Screw these guys. Screw the KKK.
Was it
Screw these
David
guys.
Duke?
Ate
We
that.
talked
Yeah,
a lot
David
about
Duke.
him
Blah
in the
blah blah. This
past.
and the other. Like you can go and of course every time it comes up in a TikTok, I send it to you. So I'm like, I know you've
I
seen it.
hate it so much.
I know you've seen it, but it's like
it's the
okay,
same video, Steve.
right? But it's like how many times is, and what's funny is you got that little Chris whatever you said his name, Chris Wallace. It's like, oh yeah, the fake Fox News guy. We put him in, and it's like,
You remember the turtle from Looney Tunes?
Yeah.
I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there.
and it's like, you know, he's like, why, like again, if he's I don't say he's beat the dead horse, but he said it so many times, but we keep still asking him the question. You know, it's like, why would you keep asking it? You're just waiting for him to trip up. They're like, is this gonna be the time? And then of course
He tripped up.
he tripped up, and I heard like the next day where he was like, I was trying to tell him to stand down and to stand by, and I'm like, you know, in all reality, if you think about how dumb Trump stuff comes out, I'm like, that's probably what he was trying to say. Because like, why would he tell him to stand by? Like, he's not that much of an idiot where he would be like, oh no, you stand by it. You know what I mean?
I was like,
I know it
the side,
was.
They were like, racism, we told you, white supremacists
But then
in the White House.
in what's hilarious though is, you on the flip side of that, you can't even get Joe Biden to acknowledge Antifa organization. Like,
What did he say? It's an idea.
it's just an idea. Anti-fascism. It's not an
Then you
organization.
sent me
Like,
to think about his sexual assaults where he was on the. Was that you? He
oh
was on
yeah,
The
yeah.
View?
I was like, this is my new Trump, because they asked him, was like, so what do you think about women and all these allegations against you? He's like, I mean,
He's like, let's be real. Some shit.
I was just like, you know, I was saying, I mean, come on, man, let's be real. Let's be real. I was trying to be nice, you know. It's like, dude, we just basically asked you to condemn rape. I think that's something basically they said. And he's like,
What was it?
I'm just trying to be nice.
Sexual
I'm like,
harassment and all that.
you tap danced around the layup of a question,
Yeah.
like Trump's layup of a question, and it's like, yeah, nobody's gonna talk about this, but of course he did it, and it's like, oh, the other one that I sent you,
What was that?
I forgot I wanted to bring this up.
I probably didn't watch it. He sends me like 20 a day.
He just said, he's like, how, you know, well, I'm able to stay. I'm able to stay in my basement, and that's because a black lady's stocking the shelves.
Yeah,
I was like,
Yeah.
Even I was like, all right. I was like, I felt
that's like the 20th thing you said. If that was Trump, man,
I felt
we would have hung him by now. Literally drug him out in the street and hung him.
I felt like you. I was like, I might need a little full context because this sounds really bad. I'm gonna be honest with you. This sounds really bad. Like, is there more to this, or is that what he said? Because it was
Well,
just
it never
a
is.
clip. I was like, oh man, it wasn't great. I was like, wait, you were staying in your basement because of black? Why did black? You couldn't just say.
Why is she just a lady?
Like because some middle class American, was stocking the shelves so that I could be, something that would help your case. And it was like, black lady, that's where your mind went. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just like the whole, you don't vote for me, you ain't black, or whatever the fuck. And it's just
Listen,
like,
man,
Jesus
this
Christ.
Dude, I told you, Steve, I was like, I'm not for either one of these motherfuckers. I was like, Joe
That's
Biden
fair.
was a horrible
That's fair.
candidate. I was like, Trump, you know what's funny? Oh, I forgot to tell you, and you'll love this, Steve. I'm meeting a lot of people. Oh, not meeting, but I'm talking to a lot of black people. They're like, man, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes it's better to what they say, stick with the devil,
Who was it? Wasn't it the head of BET that came out and said that?
Yeah,
like the
he got
owner
a
of BET.
lot of-
Oh, I don't know.
You
I mean, I
know,
don't.
yeah.
I don't.
He didn't say that. He was basically been like, Trump's all right, and they were like,
No,
Yep.
it was a direct quote that he said. It's better to stick with the devil you know than a devil you don't.
oh,
Exactly.
I have to look that up. I just saw it was an article.
Well, I've literally been hearing people say that because they're like, man, we're still in COVID right now, and it's supposed to get worse in the, this winter, and like with passing of the torch be the smartest, and they're gonna come in and kind of stop progress.
Nobody wants to hear lockdown right now. Like,
No.
Well, see, and that's what I'm saying. That's like with Bush. That's one of the reasons Bush won, because it was like, hey man, we got a war going on. Like, you want to switch presidents in the middle of a war?
yeah.
Like, nah, come on, Bush. You know what I'm saying? Whether he did it good
Come
or
on back.
bad,
Come
it's
on back.
like, bring your ass. Like, we're gonna stick with you right now. We know you. We know how stupid.
Well,
you're
when the
gonna
guy they were putting him up against was a scrub too, like he was like
Oh, yeah.
rich dude, all this like shady stuff, and they're like, nah, we're gonna pass.
They didn't really want to
What,
win.
Mitt Romney?
No, that was John Kerry.
John Kerry.
Yeah.
It
No,
was
that
John
was
Kerry.
wasn't that no, that was against Obama.
No, John Kerry wasn't Obama. Mitt Romney was Obama.
Yeah, Mitt Romney was
Yeah,
Obama.
John Kerry
Kerry.
was Bush, and then Mitt Romney was Obama. But that was the second time.
John Kerry's a Republican. I'm sorry,
No, I'm like, who are you thinking of?
my bad. You're right. I'm thinking of the
Rick Perry?
no.
Yeah,
Completely wrong guy.
you're thinking of the old
John
it was
McCain.
John McCain.
Oh yeah, it was
Yeah,
first. It was John McCain, and then it was Mitt Romney. on the
Yeah,
second.
because remember they made the damn John Kerry flip flops because
Yeah.
because he kept changing his
Flip-flop,
fucking
flap.
idea.
That's pretty
Whoop.
funny. That's pretty funny. John
That
Kerry
was funny. They
flip-flops.
made
They're
actual
like-
flip flops.
They were like, hey, because he spoke out against the NRA, and they're like, "Whoop, lost all these people." And the next day, he's out in like an orange hunting, like holding a gun, like Elmer Fudd, like not even correct. Like, I'm a hunter. Like, you ain't no hunter. Like,
yeah, that shit was fucking hilarious.
But
but
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm telling you right now, I got a lot of people who are starting to say that, and like I'm looking at TikTok videos, and they're starting to say that because they're playing like Biden, and they're like I saw.
you said one too many racist things, guy.
I saw this guy look at it was like Trump about. I don't know if you know. They like there's this one thing where it's like they look at one name and look at the other name, and then they're like they go on that side, and then they get slapped, and they go to the other side, and it's like people like Trump, and it's like racism, something, and it's like Biden, racism, something. It's like God,
Yeah.
and then they like get slapped. It's like. Yeah, man. I was like, I'm gonna tell you right now. That's how I feel because it's like, hey, I was like, I wasn't a big fan of this guy, but I wasn't never a big fan of you either.
You know what's funny though? Today, if you're 70 over, black or white, there's racism. Like there's a lot of racism in that body of yours because you've seen some stuff. Like you've seen a lot of TV and a lot of things, or you were there. Like Joe Biden. That dude's racist.
Yeah, what is he? 74, 73?
He's 70.
77.
I think he's
Are
70.
you for real?
I think he's
Mhm.
78 or 9.
How old is Bernie? Because Bernie looks like he's 95.
Yeah.
I was like, and I think
Yeah,
he's in the same age bracket,
Bi-
isn't he?
Biden's 77 and he's been in politics for 47 years, I think.
Good.
Something like that.
I feel like he's.
You know, the one thing they did say that everybody agrees upon is the term limits for like Congress and stuff like that. Because they were like, there should be nobody in there who's there for
77.
fucking 10, 20, 30 years. Like, you should.
Well, that's like Nancy Pelosi. That woman looks like she's like fucking 110 years old, man.
Trump 74.
First of all, when I saw her kneeling with a kente cloth on when they were doing that, I was like, first of all, somebody gonna have to help this bitch up. It's impossible. She's getting up on her own fruition. It was
And
like,
they did.
I got you.
Like, oh,
you know
shit.
that one made me pissed because I was like, who the fuck is doing? I actually when I saw the picture, I thought it was a bunch of Republican like congressmen like making fun of the shit. And I looked and I was like, there's no way you thought as a white person wearing kente cloth suits, or no, they were wearing scarves or whatever.
Yeah, the garb.
And then taking a knee, and it was like, who said this was a good idea? I want to see the motherfucker who said this is a good idea. He's fired right now. He's fired right now. Like, listen, you want to talk about pandering? Like, taking a knee, that's already pandering. Like, you fucking put on African dress and wear. I'm like, what?
Hey.
You weren't doing this?
Hey, I keep telling you, it's the liberals that they want to be the white savior, man.
Listen, man. Oh, that's what we were supposed to talk about. But no, I was like, because I'm like, hold on. You weren't doing this when Kaepernick was doing it, and you said you agreed with it. Why the fuck you didn't put this shit on them? Like, why you wait 3 years later doing, the campaign?
Right side of history.
Oh,
they want to be on the
man.
right side of history. That's.
But that's okay. Then you had 3 years.
Well, that goes back to the whole Joe Biden thing. It's like, hey man, you've been in Congress or all this. You've been vice president. Even
He said crazy shit about Obama when they were running against each other. That's what people forget. It's like he said
They all
crazy
do.
shit. He was with the whole
Who, Joe
Kenyan,
Biden did?
he was with the whole Kenyan Muslim shit initially against Obama when before Obama was the nominee when they were both coming up.
by the way, that was actually funny you say that. You know who started that? Hillary Clinton. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
she was going against him. She was the one that started. Because actually, what's funny is, another conservative told me that because I was like, well, Trump and the thing, and he's getting obviously like he's like, that was started by Hillary Clinton when she was running against Obama for the seat in the nomination, and the Republicans just pick up the ball that Hillary started and just like, well, yeah,
really,
we want to see the birth
It was
certificate.
really Trump that really. I was like Trump because he.
No.
Oh yeah.
Obama round one.
Oh yeah. No.
When
That's what I'm saying.
when
They were
Hillary-
saying crazy shit about like.
Hillary was going for the seat, and they're like,
Before Trump was even in the picture.
yeah, Trump.
Hold on, we're talking 8-9 years before Trump's even.
Yeah,
in the
this
picture.
is literally.
no, I'm sorry, I'm
This is
sorry.
12
Yeah.
years ago.
Oh shit! Really?
12 years ago when she was going up
yeah,
against,
yeah.
or I think I can't remember if she tried the first term or the second term, but she definitely, I want to say the second term.
I think first because nobody knew because Obama actually was a surprise to everybody.
Exactly. They're
Yeah.
like,
Because it
"Who's
was
this
like,
guy?
who is
He's
this
not
guy?
in line. It's like, young guy? Oh, okay.
Smooth talker, just
Hey,
walks
man.
right in.
He's
Listen,
smooth
we've
talker.
already talked about it. Like, I don't care who you are.
It's funny because you can
You
watch
wanna hang out with that
compilations
guy.
of them saying the same thing, and it's just like,
But different. It's like, but I told you, what I tell you, you got to be a better orator than the person. Because Trump, like, it's amazing. This big. And Obama, hey, man, baby.
Huge.
Like, it's like smoke. It's like silk in your ear, baby. Like, hey,
well,
hey,
what it's like?
we gonna
It's,
put this border up right quick. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. We got
it's
this
like
border. I'm gonna
it's
drone
like the
these
Bill Burr.
motherfuckers.
He's like, they say the same thing, but he's like, yeah, it's Asian motherfucker. He's like, and the white guy comes up, this fucking Asian guy.
like,
It's like,
we just learn to put the fuck like this.
yeah, it's all about the context.
I'm trying to take look, because it's funny. I told Steve this in the past too. I was like, Obama did a lot of conservative shit actually that you would think conservatives liked at the time, like those drone strikes. When I found out the age, because they were like, "Oh, we neutralized this, blah blah," and we took out that was insurgents and something else.
Yeah.
But then they were like, "Well, but you got this one wedding, like you bombed a wedding." And there were like children, and they were like, no. As long as they were of military age, I was like, what the fuck? But military age over there is like 16. I was like, excuse me. So women, like, so the women and the teenagers just fuck them, and they were like, basically.
Well, and that's even something that happened in Vietnam is like how the soldiers would blend in with is kind of like
Well, no, I get that.
kill and blend in, and then all of a sudden it's like now you're mad at everybody because it's like they're not giving them up either. and you're like there to help them, but they're not giving them up. They're not ratting them out because if they do, they're gonna come back and kill you that night. You know what I mean? So they're just like, all right, we didn't say nothing, and then then they pop off a couple of the guys, and like there's a documentary called Generation Kill. Not documentary, excuse me. It's a miniseries that they put on HBO.
I watched it. Oh, that was my shit. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like I was like, man, it's easy to sit here in hindsight 2020, but like if you were there and I just saw my friend died, like I'd be like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna justify it, but it's gonna be hard to be like.
Listen, I knew people, and I would tell them consistently. I knew a lot of older people that would say the same thing. It's like, do whatever you have to do to get back. And they were like, they would never go into like, look, don't say shit to me about it. Do whatever you have to do to get back, and then we'll work on that later.
Right.
And I was like, I can't disagree with it. I was like, look, man, it's fucked up. I was like, especially like, was the sniper movie where he shoots the kid?
Yeah, because he picks up the bomb.
No, he thought he had a bomb or something?
He doesn't because the mom comes and like pulls him away. But
no, he shoots the kid. Because it was one of the things that like fucked him up for a while. Because
I think he shot the.
He shot women, but
I thought he shot the woman.
No, he shot the kid because he was like he couldn't see, and then after that the mom comes and picks it up like
and goes to throw it. You're right.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's like the mom
right.
acts like her child didn't just die. I was like, fuck that, fuck him, and then he gets
you're
her
right.
too.
I thought you're right. He passed on it initially. No, it wasn't the same one. It was the RPG. He's holding the RPG, and then the little kid's like, and aims it at the tank. He's like, "Come on, man, don't do it, don't do it."
Yeah,
and then the kid drops it. And he runs away. He's like, "Oh," like. But then the other one, you're right, is the mom and the kid, and he goes to whip it. And,
I couldn't do that shit. I tell everybody that's why I never joined the cops or the military. I was bad at laser tag and paintball. Always got hit. Always got hit.
All right, Brad, I'm gonna wrap this up. I saw you took the headphones back out, so I know you're 6% up. But we appreciate you doing this. It'll be interesting to
want to do it again.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this all edits
next
together.
Next time we're gonna have more topics. We were just shooting the shit because we didn't want to bombard you.
Yeah, well, let's. I mean, I think we're gonna have a lot. I mean, the election's about a month away, right?
Oh shit.
So
right.
I mean, that'd be a good. I mean, that might be a really good time to do one after that. Just kind of visit, the actions and talk about what we're all seeing in like our respective communities. Like I'm seeing out in Colorado, you guys are seeing in Pennsylvania. You live in Maryland, right, Mike?
Yeah, I'm in Maryland. Yeah.
Yeah. So just kind of seeing what we see, in our neighborhoods. I think that'd be something neat to talk about. Just kind of how everybody's reacting to it, because it is going to be. I think I'm most excited to see what is all of a sudden does this COVID pandemic dissipate, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden we have a cure and it's just boom, now let's get all right. Because what I one topic that I guess I'd maybe like to bring up next time is how the government continues to utilize us as the puppeteers, and we're the people that take that we're like the cannon fodder, right? Like we're the ones that are constantly taking the fucking shots, while they're pulling their corporate strings and they're pushing their agendas, and they're utilizing our businesses and
we'll talk about this next time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I
also want to talk about civil war. Everybody says it's gonna happen.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
This time, race civil war.
But
oh shit.
Either way, I mean, that is it's a good thing to talk about, and that's a great time to talk about it because it'll be interesting, especially. And you will have to wait till that official, like all the bail-in ballots and all that stuff actually come in, like November 10th, because that's going to be interesting. And either way, win, lose, for whichever team, it's going to the courts for sure.
Oh
yeah.
Supreme Court's picking
because
our
they already found a huge deposit of ballots that were floating down the river or some shit. Like,
yeah.
It was like a massive deposit. It was all like votes for Trump, and they were like thrown out and floating down the river. Now, some. Like crazy, like it's gonna go. You're right. It's gonna go to the court no matter what. So
I can't imagine. I was like, the counties get a hold of it. The Republican county. Biden. Goodbye.
Well, they know your county.
Trump?
Like
goodbye.
They know your county based off of funny example. I was down in Virginia. Virginia's a blue state. Guess what you didn't see?
What?
Hardly any political commercials. Pennsylvania's a swing state. It was like bow, bow. Man, I couldn't be on YouTube for every other commercial.
There's also a sign coming to Steve's house that says "Vote Republican" November 3rd. It just says "Vote Republican." It doesn't even say anything else. It's just a big sign: "Vote Republican" November 3rd. I was like, all right, well,
You said sign coming to my house?
I'm sorry, a billboard is what I meant to say.
Oh,
A
I was like,
huge
why is there a
billboard?
sign coming to my
just a
house?
huge billboard on the freeway that just says "Vote
Try
Republican."
to take Trump's name off of it. Just,
Yeah, it's like just vote Republican. If you don't know them, just vote all Republican.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get it. All right,
No,
man.
I
We
appreciate
appreciate
you
it.
having me, dude.
Yeah.
Appreciate you having me, guys. It was a lot of fun. Good chatting with you. Appreciate the insight, Mike and Steve. Looking forward to our next one.
All right, brother. Have a good one, man. It was good talking to you.
Later, guys.
See ya.